Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of the MinnMax Show, a place about games, friends, getting better. I'm Ben Hansen, joined by Janet Garcia.
Hello.
Joined by Jacob Geller.
Huge week for the Janet and Jacob fans.
It really is. You guys are everywhere in a good way. Joined by Leo Vader.
Hi, I'm getting over being sick and I didn't sleep at all, but I'm still looking forward to giving a fantastic podcast performance today.
Great. Look forward to it, everybody. Also, we're honored to be joined by the one and only, the writer of Portal, co-writer of Portal 2, co-writer of Psychonauts, a million other things from Valve, Erik Wolpaw.
All right, you don't have to do that. As I mentioned, I'm just finding out that I have a big scar down my face. That,
Makes you look grizzled. Makes you look cool.
Yeah, compared to the beard, it's probably not making me look that grizzled. But I do like scars. When I had it was like 20 years ago now. I had a surgery on my gut, and I have a big Frankenstein scar running up the front of me.
Yeah.
And my sister was like, you should get some scar reducer for that. And I was like, dude, would love to have some scar enhancer. Like, I want this thing to be as scarly as humanly possible.
Yeah.
So hopefully this will develop into something, not get infected, but be just a scar that just comes from my eye right down to my lip. It'll grow a little bit.
And is that just like life on the farm? You're just getting scarred up with all the hard work you're doing out there?
Yeah, no, I don't even know what caused this. I have no idea. It's probably just getting old and your skin becomes like tissue paper. And so just like, a butterfly landing on it will cause a permanent scar. I don't know. I don't know what caused this.
Scarred, it just shows you're seasoned. You have a lot of wisdom to share in this episode, and I'm excited to have you. It's a long, weird story with you, sir. Not just your career, but like your involvement here. 'Cause like, we're talking about doing this other project with you, and we're like, hey, we should do something. And it came out of the woodwork that you're the biggest fan of Minnesota in the world. I think so. We'll get into that for sure in a little bit. But it's funny. You're like, yeah, I mean, the game that I'm most excited to talk about is going to be Slay the Spire 2. When that comes out in early access, I'm going to devote my life to it. And so always in the back of my mind, I've had burning, like for some reason, whenever Slay the Spire 2 comes out, we need to reach back out to Erik Wolpaw to see if he actually will join us on the show. So thank you for joining us for this big celebration of Slay the Spire, man.
I'm happy to be. Nobody else asked me to be part of a Slay the Spire 2 celebration.
It's rude. It's frankly rude.
It does kind of stink. I think I've been pretty open about it's my favorite game, how much I love it. And this isn't like your sister-in-law likes Candy Crush. I've played a lot of games, and this is my favorite. By far. It's not even close. I mean, in terms of like hours spent playing it, it's not close. It's orders of magnitude.
I had some fake gamer accusations loaded up for you that I will hold back on now.
I would love to knock them down.
All right, we have a lot to unpack on this episode. We'll be talking Slay the Spire 2, believe it or not. We're going to be talking a little bit about GDC highlights. Janet and Jacob just got back from that. We're going to be unpacking that in a big way. We are going to follow up on Mewgenics. More talk about that because, again, every conversation about Mewgenics is like, yeah, the more I play it, the more I realize is going on here under the hood. So we can talk about that in a big way. Leo Vader, God bless you and your giant heart. You said of all the games in the world, I want to talk about The Division 2 in the year 2026. And God damn it, I love you for it, man.
That was a joke, dude. No one wants to hear about it.
Oh, okay. All right, we'll be skipping that part. Evil Requiem, we can share some spoiler-free final thoughts. And then back half of the show, we have some wonderful questions from the community shared over there on Patreon. Thanks, everybody, for supporting us on Patreon. Thanks also to everybody who subscribes to MinnMax on YouTube. You get a small click for you. It's a huge thing for us. And everybody on your favorite podcast app. We had some issues last week with Apple Podcasts where the episode wasn't jumping into people's feeds. So if that happened to you, check again. Sorry, we did everything the same on our end, but Apple Podcasts is all over the place. So maybe try a different podcast app if you want to have it more reliable in the future. But here we go. Slay the Spire 2. Mr. Wolpaw. Okay, so the first one, favorite game of all time, better than life itself. Where is your level right now of Slay the Spire 2? Is it like Slay the Spire 1 is irrelevant now? This is the new go-to game?
It is temporarily irrelevant, although Slay the Spire 1 is so good and such a cornerstone of my life for so many years that, there's no novelty to it anymore. It's just a thing I do and a thing I love, and I play it every day. I watch streamers play it literally every day, which is not something I do with any other game. I spend some portion of my day watching a guy on YouTube play Slay the Spire Baylor Lord. I don't know why I don't want to mention Coke or something because it's the guy Baylor Lord, who is like the Bob Ross of streaming Slay the Spire. It's very, very chill, but he's very good at playing Slay the Spire. In fact, he's so Bob Ross that I watched the videos at 1.25 because it's a little bit too slow in his normal voice. But then so when I play Slay the Spire, I'm like, why is the music so weird? Strange. Anyway, so Slay the Spire 2 at the moment is, I don't know the exact breakdown, but there's a lot of novelty to it. Will it replace Slay the Spire 1? I mean, probably it will. I haven't seen anything that makes me think it won't. And it's not like they're going to stop working on it. I think I saw they announced it sold 3 million copies in the first week.
Yeah.
I mean,
almost Resident Evil Requiem numbers. Like Resident Evil Requiem was like, we sold 5 million copies in the first week, and then like 2 days later, Slay the Spire was like, we sold 3 million copies.
And at the same time, it's like, give it 5 years. There's no doubt in my mind that Slay the Spire 2 is going to outsell Requiem in most games this year. It's just one of those that's going to have like an infinite tail, right?
And Requiem's, I'm assuming, on everything, and Slay the Spire 2 is only on PC and I think only on Steam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have already bought it again if it was somewhere else. I was literally thinking, can I get this on my Switch yet? Okay, I'm like, I have to wait for it to actually come out.
I've played so much Slay the Spire on my phone. It's kind of like the only phone game I need. Yeah. And so like eventually Slay the Spire 2 will come out for that, and I'll buy it there too.
Jeez.
Yeah, I rarely play Slay the Spire 1 on PC anymore. It's almost exclusively on my phone. The only time I play, we'll play it on the Steam Deck, which we have attached to the TV. My son and I will do co-op runs where we just trade off. He'll do one combat, I'll do one combat, and we'll go through runs that way. But yeah, so far, I love it. It's novel. I'm still discovering things. The Regent, the new character, the Regent, I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around. I'm excited to do more with it. I like the Necrobinder a lot. I don't want to go. I like the co-op. We play a couple runs of co-op every day. And this is going to sound negative, but I don't really mean it that way. I feel like I'll start by saying it's super fun. I mean, I'm thrilled that it's in there, especially since they basically didn't announce it was going to be in there until like the last trailer, like the release trailer.
Yeah.
So it was only a few weeks before the game came out. You can tell it's not a game designed from the ground up to be co-op. There's less decision co-op. There's not a ton of co-op decision making. There's a lot of yelling at the other people to stop attacking because you can apply vulnerable to somebody.
Right.
We had 2 hours of that yesterday. Go up on the MinnMax
there's some
channel.
coordination that is required. In terms of does it scale right? I'm not sure. There's the multiplayer cards, which are nice. But weirdly, when I talk about playing with my son, there's more cooperative decision making when we play with each other because we're designing a deck together, basically. Whereas in this, you're sort of, maybe you guys are playing differently and maybe I'll eventually play differently, but we're not discussing our deck builds with each other. We're choosing cards kind of in a vacuum. So the opportunity for cooperative decision-making is not huge. Again, I don't even know why I'm leading with this. This is my one basic true negative, but it's not even negative because it's still a blast to play. And I don't know if you guys ever tried the Slay the Spire board game, which is cooperative.
It's still wrapped up. I bought it months ago.
Yeah,
I haven't
know.
opened it.
Anyway, here, look. This is a classic. This is from 3 years ago. Here's Frosthaven in the box, never even opened. So
yeah, I'm looking for the gamer is that you
box.
don't open the game and you just gotta have it. I saw the Kickstarter email this morning on there doing like more content for that board game too, which foolishly I'm gonna buy. No, for Slay the Spire, the board game.
Oh,
which I'm gonna buy even though I haven't opened the base game. But I'm like, you're making more? I'll take it.
The tabletop game is kind of like their way of testing the co-op, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, has more cooperative, but in a way, I feel like Slay the Spire 2 is obsoleting. No offense to the people working on the board game, but it's just the setup and the teardown of the board game is pretty long. So I feel like what it had going for it was the co-op, and Slay the Spire 2 now has co-op, which maybe when you get into the nuts and bolts of it isn't as awesome as the co-op in the board game, but it's so much easier to get into that it may obsolete that. So if anything is going to get obsoleted, I feel like it's not Slay the Spire 1. It's unfortunately Slay the Spire, the board game.
Right, like you're saying with the co-op, it's like errs on the side of being so smooth as to like play at basically the same speed as single player, which is kind of crazy. The communication required is so low, except for when you're picking relics. You see each character's hand come up and you have to select, I want this relic, I want this one, which is such a cool way to do it, visually presented in such an awesome way, and does require this synergizes with mine, okay, but it synergizes with mine way more. Those kinds of discussions are fun to have once in a while. And I would be curious if they would have multiple modes where it's one that is this way, where everybody picks their own cards, it has their own rewards from each fight, or a mode that's more like we each pick from one of these, which I guess would be crazy with all the different characters and their unique sets of cards.
But
there might be some way to do
wonder, it would be interesting if they had like, when you recently we were talking about Windblown, the roguelike, which you can, what's fun about that is like you can help your partner buy things. If you have enough money and they don't have quite enough, you can be like, hey, here's 20 gold. You can do this. And it seems like that sort of thing could be incorporated in where, like, last night Janet got 999 gold at some point, and I think just had bought everything that she needed and still had like 600 gold. And so it would be interesting if then she could have like lent some of that to me and Leo to play.
I don't know if I want that feature because I kind of like, no, I'm just kidding.
Just for Janet.
And they let you do sharing the potion, like you can throw the potions on other people, which I think is fun. But I do, the idea of being able to swap and share more, or even like kind of what the implied suggestion of what if there was a co-op mode that was you both playing as the one character but cooperatively making the decisions, because that is like, I think just like another fun way to do it. As far as like sharing builds, I think that just depends on how you want to play it. Like I certainly did ask like Jacob and Leo sometimes, like, hey, I'm going to upgrade a card. I'm debating between these two. Which should I upgrade? And then talking through that, I thought was like really beneficial. And I think what's really fun and great about the co-op, besides it as an experience, it is a learning tool for deepening your understanding of the game. You talked about watching streams, and I haven't really gotten into a lot of that for Slay the Spire because I almost don't want like that high a level of stuff to be seen. I like learning from the streets, like normie to normie, regular mid players teaching other mid players. Like, that's how I like to learn.
Insult taken.
That's about where I thought I was, so thank you.
I would say like non-professional Slay the Spirers, Jacob Gallagher, but yeah, like just regular people that don't do it at that super high scale, but have like develop their own styles on how they like to play. Like even just from, playing with y'all yesterday, I'm like, okay, I'm really going to try to like ease up on my obsession with my own health because it is holding me back from upgrading. And like, I love that in this game in particular, my style of play becomes a tapestry of the conversations and play sessions I've had with other people in a way that doesn't happen in almost any other video game. I know like sometimes Souls games kind of get some of that DNA too, but it's something that does feel a little unique to like the Slay the Spire experience, which is really fun.
To like back up a little bit to just kind of talk about like the sequelness, it's an interesting game where I feel like if you've never played Slay the Spire 1, just start with Slay the Spire 2. It'll be great. You'll have a good time. If you played a little bit of 1, you might look at it and think like, it doesn't seem like that much has changed. But if you've played hundreds or thousands of hours of Slay the Spire 1, as many of us have, there is this feeling of like, look, if you change the way that like one chess piece moved on the board, it would completely change that game forever. And like that is kind of what it feels like the decisions they've made here are, where like there are 5 characters, 3 of them are from Slay the Spire 1, and they have recognizable card sets. You know, they haven't had all their cards replaced. They all generally start with the same things. But the new relics, the new cards, the new like mechanics in the game fundamentally shift how each of those characters play, and maybe they had archetypes before and maybe that archetype has been deepened. Maybe you can more easily combine it with other things. Maybe you can kind of like, you know, do conglomerate builds of these multiple things. And I think my favorite thing about it is at the end of each a Slay the Spire run is 3 floors, and at the beginning of each run and then after each floor you are given like a you know, a kind of boon to go on to the next floor. That it's like, this will change your run. In the first game, a lot of them were just, you have 1 more energy, but you can't gain gold. You have 1 more energy, but you can't smith. Remove 2 cards from your deck. You know, stuff that was like useful. You were happy to see it, but was not, you know, maybe wasn't that exciting. Slay the Spire 2, those are like, when you go to a shop, you will buy every single item in the shop. Or like, you know, if you have empty potion slots, we'll fill all of your potion slots every round. Or you gain 1 energy, but an evil demon plays your first hand every round. You know, where it's like, there's so much more playful, and you know, seem to point towards much weirder experiences on individual runs in a way that just makes me feel like I am playing a completely new game, even though it has so many similarities to the first one.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, it feels comfortably familiar, but with a lot of exciting new wrinkles to explore. And I'm aware, because of my relationship with Slay the Spire 1, that once the novelty wears off, there's the core game that should be solid enough that it's just fun to play forever. And I think it hit with Slay the Spire 1, there's like this moment-to-moment in a strategy game, this moment-to-moment cognitive load, which is like, I got to keep this in my mind. And it's just pitched perfectly for me with Slay the Spire. There's strategy games that I just can't wrap my head around that I know people like. But whatever the level that they found seems to be a sweet spot for a lot of people. Like I could never play, I don't know, what are those paired, like Crusader Kings 3 or 2 or whatever. It's just too much. It's too overwhelming. Mm-hmm. I know some people's brains work that way and they like that information overload, but there's many decisions that need to be made. They're complicated, but they're not complicated to make. And I am focusing on this one thing. But it still feels like endlessly interesting to make these decisions. Again, you know, your mileage may vary, but I think a lot of people, I mean, it sold at least 3 million copies as of a week ago. So people definitely like it. Some of the things you were talking about with the replacing the relics with I'm not even sure what they call them, boons or the ancients that are giving you something. I'm always excited to see what I'm going to end up with. Like, yeah, the perfect example is the devil guy, I don't know what his name is, who gives you an extra mana but plays your first hand, which is surprisingly not as destructive as you would think. He just kind of plays the cards from left to right until he runs out of mana.
Unless you end up having a card that's like, exhaust all the cards in your hand, and then suddenly he's destroyed your entire run.
You need to know. Oh, it's kind of like playing Havoc in the first game. You just need to know that your deck doesn't have any secret bombs, hidden in it. Yeah, before you take it. It does seem like mana is at a premium more so than in Slay the Spire 1, but I haven't really noticed it being a problem yet. I think there's more cards that'll give you mana as a power or temporarily give you mana. Defect also seems to not have as much focus as it did in Slay the Spire. I noticed that. Like permanent focus, there's a bunch of temporary focus. These are just observations without any deep thoughts about it. Like these are things that appear to be, I'm assuming they thought long and hard about it. So I'm curious to see how it all, how that all shakes out. And, it's such early days. So many cards are going to get nerfed or buffed. Do you guys have any from your playtime, like cards that you think are for sure getting nerfed or seemed too powerful?
I agree. I think it's really, especially if you are a Slay the Spire sicko, it's really interesting to be playing in early access and then have those stories like a year from now of like, oh, remember when this card did this? I think will be really fun. One from our stream yesterday, the Necrobinder has a card that's like, do this much damage X times, and it also has a card that's like, add replay to one of your cards, but it costs 1 more energy. But with X cost cards, there is no additional energy. And so you can go, I mean, literally, we ended our run last night by me playing an attack that would have done 800 damage when a normal attack does like 12 in this game. Like it was completely absurd. And people have been finding, I think, like there are a lot of different ways to go infinite in this game of just kind of create a hand that you can just play forever. And so it's fun to be in that testing stage and also to see all of their placeholder art, which is just beautifully drawn with like Microsoft Paint. And they say, you know, we'll have new art in here sometime. It's really fun to be playing that
like,
early stage.
I wish they made like all like temp art that you could toggle on
Skin
or something,
pack,
because I think it's really fun.
They had
seeing
that in the first game.
They had it.
You
But it
could
was,
toggle
the
that art.
beta art in the first game was still a little bit more high quality than the one.
I only played the first game on Switch. I'll keep this part brief to focus more on talking about like Slay the Spire 2 as a game. But like my history with Slay the Spire is I played Clair Expedition 33, and Clair Expedition 33, a game that I'm already forgetting the name of because the name is insane. But I fell in love with the synergies you could do in that game.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, what do I do now that this game is over? This kind of sucks. Like, where do I go next? And my husband suggested that I play Slay the Spire. I wanted to also take advantage of Nintendo's new feature that lets you like game share across like your family, where like I never bought Slay the Spire 1. He had it and lent it to me. And it's like a 2-week library system that Nintendo made where like auto goes back. And I played it, and I don't play deck builders. I don't play roguelikes. I definitely don't play roguelike deck builders.
Yep.
And I find them to be holistically, you know, sort of how you described, Eric, where it's like, it's cool, but it's too complicated for me. Like, I don't have the mindset to want to learn all of this. But Slay the Spire is so straightforward, so like easy to understand. And I think Slay the Spire and Slay the Spire 2 do a great job at giving you plenty of space to come up with like a strategy that does work, but it might not work for the whole run is the thing. Because they do a great job of like knocking you on your butt a bit by presenting you with a challenge that is exactly the thing that you don't want to do. So like I've been playing with a lot of high damage builds to a degree. Like I do a lot of silent, which is poison, but the poison's a little nerfed in this one, so I'm kind of refiguring things out. I did Necrobinder last night after our stream. Me and I did a couple of co-op runs also. So I'm like, let's test out new characters. I'll be Necrobinder and you can be Regent just to see how those play. But then there's that like string of enemies that they can only take 9 damage. And I'm like, oh my God, I hate these guys, because it's like my whole thing is just building up a bunch of damage. So I think they have always done such a good job at that, at really making, I think in so many roguelikes, like the skill ceiling is like a bit higher, and it feels like, okay, things aren't really achievable until you like maybe get enough stuff, or you like trying to get the muscle memory. Here, I feel like Slay the Spire always feels achievable. And even as I'm getting better cards and unlocking new cards that allow for new strategies, I never feel like I'm being gatekept from succeeding by my own like hours poured into it. I feel like you're only blocked by like your ability to kind of figure things out and also like encounter enemies and learn things. So yeah, it's just been still so fun and just so wildly approachable and endlessly, like the time melts away when I play this game. I've put like, I think like 30 hours, maybe more into it. And I was at GDC for a week and I didn't play that game for that whole week. Yeah. So like, this is time where it's like, you know what I want to do? Play more Slay the Spire. I haven't felt this way about a game since like I was a kid and I was obsessed with Smash Bros. And Mario Party 4 at the same time and harassed my brother endlessly. I'm like, hey, can we play today? Can we play it? Like, I'm like that with Slay the Spire, but I'm like, there's a single player version too. So I'm like, when I'm not harassing someone to play the multiplayer, I'm playing the single player.
It is. I mean, I guess it's just part of roguelikes, but I've Slay the Spire has I get the most of this feeling of it's a fresh run, anything could happen. It's just a feeling of optimism, I guess, that I get very few other places in my life, that things are going to go well this time. Here we go. I do want to back up and argue with you about one thing, which is I thought also that they had nerfed poison a little bit, mainly because I didn't see Catalyst, which is a card in Slay the Spire 1, which doubles then triples. But they've replaced it with Accelerant, which is a power that makes poison fire twice, and then fire, I believe, 3 times when you upgrade it, which is similar. The one thing it does is if it fires 3 times, it decreases 3 times, but it's still pretty powerful. And there's a few other new cards that interact with poison. Now, I will say, and maybe you guys have a different experience, I'm not sold on Doom yet. That's the Necrobinder mechanic.
Yeah, I'm like, one day I'm gonna make it work, but I keep not getting there.
I'm very interested in Doom. So for people who don't know, Doom is it's a like status effect that you can apply to enemies, and it functions very similar to poison, but the difference is if you have like let's say you apply 10 Doom, that means that when the enemy's HP is at 10, at the end of that enemy's turn, it would die if it's 10 or lower. Like the Doom kind of eats into the health, but it fires after the enemy does their turn, unlike poison, which fires at the start. So if you have like, okay, the Doom's full, like they're below the Doom level, they're going to die. They're going to die at the end of their turn. So it's like you still have to block any damage coming in, which I like it. I do wish it fired at the beginning because I'm like, I kind of want to just be able to doom people out, but like I get why. If it did, that'd just be poison. So like I understand that. I'm experimenting a little bit with a Doom build. I'm very new to is it Necrobinder?
Yeah,
Necrobinder.
That's the character's name. Yeah. So I haven't fully done that yet. I've mostly been doing heavy damage, and it was fun. It was really fun playing as Necrobinder after seeing Jacob do it, where I'm like, ooh, this is one of those cards Jacob had this run. This is going to be good. And like, yeah, and I totally relate to the optimism thing though, too, because I am on my 3rd multiplayer run with my husband from just last night specifically. And each run, I'm like, we had a really good build. We didn't make it. Let's start it up again. And I'm like, this is even better than what we had last time. We didn't make it. The 3rd time, I'm like, okay, this is kind of the best thing we've made together. And it feels that way every single time you play, for the most part. Every now and then you get kind of like, maybe not your favorite combo of things. But yeah, there's such like a achievability and delusion mixed in there. I really enjoy
it's
that.
almost always delusion, especially at the high ascension levels, and then in Slay the Spire 1 when you're going for heart kills as well. But and the thing about Doom is the thing you said, you wouldn't think it would be such a huge thing that it fires after, that the enemy gets one more attack when you've accumulated enough Doom to kill them. It really is. Like, it makes a huge difference. And it just seems, again, I need to play more Necrobinder because I had a bad experience with Doom, and so I haven't really messed around with it. I keep trying to force these Souls builds where you're drawing 8 gazillion cards.
Oh, I've had some of those. Those are good.
That's a card I think they're going to nerf, which is Dirge, which does 4x summon on your hand, and then it also creates that many souls, and it's just this perpetual motion machine.
Yep.
And it doesn't exhaust. With Doom, it feels like, and I would love to hear conflicting opinions, it just feels like worse poison at this point.
Yeah, maybe.
It's probably great.
It's like when you get it working, it's such a cool feeling because unlike, poison is like I'm hitting their health and then I'm kind of just knocking it down again. With Doom, it's almost like you're eating away at their health bar from both sides. It's like, oh, I'm going to meet in the middle, which is a really cool feeling, but I agree that it doesn't feel quite dialed in enough yet. But at the same time, like those enemies that can only take 9 damage, doesn't matter how many damage they take, or like an enemy that's like shielding a lot, similar to poison, you can kind of like subvert an entire thing. I feel similarly about the Regent's big sword, which is kind of seems to be its main way of doing damage, where the regent can kind of summon a floating sword, and then a lot of cards are like adding attack to it. And it's a really cool idea, but it just doesn't quite feel like all the pieces are there yet. Like maybe it needs more powers, or let the sword, you know, in like with the Necrobinder, you have this summoned hand. You have a hand, and it's really cool because the hand will take damage before you, so it works as like a secondary shield. And it's like maybe they need to make the sword also do something else similar to the Necrobinder, you know, any of this stuff. But like, I still think, you know, it's like I think that playing this game is just kind of an experience of like witnessing a design genius, and I have so much respect for what they've already built that like I can't wait to see the ways that they tweak it, because I basically feel like I'm actively watching, you know, some of the best game designers in the world play with their creation in a way that I'm not annoyed like, why didn't you release a game when it was done? I'm like, what a privilege to be able to see the game as it's being made. It's like that's how in it with Slay the Spire 2
You get to
I
have
am.
you get double the game with early access. It sounds like I'm scamming, but I swear I'm not, because it's like I beat the game solo. When I do that, that's beating the game. But then I get to beat the game again for 1.0, where it's like, now that they're done, what's in it? So you can have these extra layers of tinkering in a way that you don't normally get. To like add another thought to the Doom thing, I believe in Doom because I love poison. So it's in Doom is just poison, but a little different. There's some really good stuff that you like can do with Doom. Like it's expensive, it's 3 energy, but they have a card called End of Days where you apply 29 Doom to all enemies, and being able to do that, like this, I did this in a multiplayer run. Being able to do that as like a last hurrah before like dying, and being like, hope you can make it out of this battle so I can like res the next campfire, like is really cool. I do like that there's like, I enjoy the ability to do like longer status things, because even if I go down, I contributed, and my presence is felt on the battlefield, and that means a lot to me. So yeah, that's my thing with Doom. And they also have a card that's called it's called like No Escape or something, and I think it adds 10 Doom, but it adds like extra Doom if there's already Doom on the enemy, and I think that's gonna be like really getting that going.
Yeah.
It's kind of catalyst coded. Yeah.
Snowball. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's I agree. I see, to the extent that I look at people talking about games online at all, I do see people are like, you know, I can't believe you're paying to beta test this game. Like, I can't believe they gave me the opportunity to pay to beta test this game.
Right.
Best thing that's happened to me in 5 years, probably.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's not player obscure. It's not a game where I'm going to play once for the story or something.
Yeah.
You're playing this over and over again. So it's awesome that there's some amount that's going to change over time. And it's not like when they release 1.0, at least it wasn't with Slay the Spire, that there's not going to be card changes after 1.0.
Yeah.
It's only really over when they declare they're not working on it anymore.
It's interesting. It's almost like a more sustainable version of live service, as we see more and more like of that genre being hit with the Doom status effect. Am I right?
Hey, you're right, man.
It's like a built-in endpoint where it's like it starts in a totally satisfying playable state, and then you get fun tweaks and new content and stuff, and then it has an end date where they put a bow on it, and now this is what it is forever, versus like ideally it outlives all of us, or else it's a failure.
That's an incredible point. You got a cat.
Yes, thank you.
It's like a more humane live service game where it's live service for a while, but eventually the devs get to go home and stop working on it.
Right.
It's not a promise that for your $40, they will work for you for the rest of your life. I think it's a great, like, you know that they're going to stop someday. Someday they're going to stop working on this game.
Yeah. Is the tough question for an outlet, is this the year to give it its flowers? Are we going to be talking about this for Game of the Year this year?
I cannot wait for the argument from last night. I went to bed and I said, I can't wait to argue about this in the 210s on whether or not we put it in this year or next year, and then have people be like, I think we should do a thing different than what we always said we would do. I cannot wait.
I think if it's the year where like you're going to spend a majority of your hours with it, which I guess probably isn't true. It's probably a game you're going to be playing forever. So it's like,
well, yeah, but that's not. I mean, I think it's like when we think about like Hades 2 came out in early access in 2023 and then fully released in 2025. When Hades 2 came out, it did have like one path all the way down, one of its two. You could fight the final boss, which was different than Hades 1, which started with only, you know, like whatever. But it's still, you were playing it and you were like, this isn't, you know, they're clearly, you can see the work in progress things. You can see what's happening. This does not feel like that. You know, like honestly, if they just didn't have that Microsoft Word art and they released this game, I don't think anyone would think it was in early access. Like it feels like a finished game, maybe just with the absence of a kind of heart-like final boss. You know, and so it's like, my guess is it's actually not going to be in early access for that long. Yeah. I could be wrong, but it doesn't feel like they are making giant swaths of new content other than maybe new characters. That's a big question mark. But like I don't know. You can play an entire run. It feels finished the whole time.
Yeah.
You see the design brilliance the whole time. I think it's, you know, we're considering it for this year. I
put it in multiple lists in multiple years.
Yeah, put it next year too. I don't care.
The first generational game. Why not?
You don't just close out the category with Slay the Spire 1. That you guys are. I'm actually shocked you're still giving out awards. There is some. So. There's definitely some polish. I don't know if you've gotten like there's a Act 3 boss named the Door. There's a few of the elites and bosses that clearly have placeholder art. It's weird. There's alternate Act 1s. I don't remember what they're called off the top of my head, but other than you're fighting different enemies, there's no presentation that I can see that tells you, like, it doesn't say like Act 1, this path, you know, whatever it's called. If it's called Jungle and the other one's called Swamp, like, there's no way to actually know which one you're on, which isn't that huge a thing. It's just a kind of an odd polish oversight, but there's lots of polish. Like, I'm thinking maybe they're going to really go crazy with card effects. I don't know if you, Sweeping Beam, I don't know if you play, Sweeping Beam now has one of the coolest animations for a card I've ever seen. And so maybe they're going to do that for lots of different cards. So there's a lot of attacks that just seem to have, you know, default effects on them. Hidden Gem. Did you know this card? I'm just going.
Yeah.
The one that adds replay.
Be nerfed. What?
Yes.
Yeah. It adds 2 replay. Doesn't exhaust. It doesn't do it to a card in your hand. It does it to a card, just a random card in your draw pile. But that card is bonkers powerful. Like, you start thinning your deck a little bit, you'll get stuff, because the replay will stack. I mean, you'll get stuff with 9 replay on it.
Ooh, it stacks?
Yeah, replay is
I actually have to get off the call. I had something else.
I understand.
So that one I expect to see changed. I think just because it's so good.
Yeah.
But having said that, some of the stuff that's good, I've only gotten to Ascension 5. So by the time you get, I think there's only 10 Ascensions in versus 20 that was in Slay the Spire, which I actually think is a good change. I like the less number of Ascensions. Monster Train 2 did that too, where they reduced I forget what Monster Train 2, there's a drop off. That's my second favorite deck builder, and then there's basically
that's the one I tried after it, and I just went back to Slay the Spire. I saw Monster Train. I said, wait,
it's a different beast. It's not as sticky, at least for me, but it's really good. Anyway, so and Monster Train 2 just came out like 6 months ago.
Yeah,
might have come out this year, so that would be in contention for number 2 in your game of the year.
Well, let's see.
Jeff and wishes.
The list is ringing itself.
Yeah. Have you, Eric? Have you interacted with Megacrit at all? They're up in Seattle. I don't know how often you get up there.
Yeah, they've probably been at Valve, but I never have. I don't think I've ever met them. It's Casey, and I have talked to them with an intermediary, which is a guy who works on Steam named Tom, who's a buddy of mine. I'm like, tell Megacrit this, tell Megacrit that. I mean, it's not like tell Megacrit what I would do if I was them. I'd more like, tell me how awesome their game is. But I've never talked to them directly. I know a few people at Valve who have.
Yeah, it's wild to think like they share an office with Aggro Crab, like the Peak developers. Just think about like that. That studio space is wild to think of. And the part that seems like there's no way it can be true, but in interviews, Megacrit said that after Slay the Spire 1, they took a break and they were trying to figure out what they wanted to do next. And they wanted to make a brand new game that maybe was more action focused. And then some people were like, maybe we should make Slay the Spire 2. And they said that they settled it literally with a coin toss. They just flipped a coin for a 50-50 shot about what they're going to make next. And the part that really is wild is that they said they were on a Discord call and one person flipped the coin and then said, yep, it landed this way. And they're like, all right, Slay the Spire 2. But he never showed it to anybody. So like he could have just been lying for like the push to actually make this game.
They should make that a random event in the game.
Ooh, yeah.
That would be really fun.
What's it's the opposite of the No Country for Old Men scene. Yeah. What's the most you've ever gained on a coin toss? 3 million copies in the first week.
Jesus Christ.
I feel who's the Peak guys? What are they called again?
Aggro Crab.
Aggro Crab. Right. So my son played the crap out of Peak. I mean, so did a lot. That game probably sold more than Slay the Spire 2 has at this point. That was a huge hit. But I remember reading an interview with them that they put all this effort into their Souls-like crab game.
Yes.
Which I thought I didn't play it to the end, but I played some of it and it was pretty entertaining. And then they just make this kind of, I mean, it's not like trash or anything, but a much simpler game that just blew up like crazy. I mean, it has a happy ending for them because they're all filthy rich, I assume now. But yeah, there's a lot of money floating through that office. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, that's magical. Slay the Spire 2, final thoughts before we move on? You all
I wanted to ask Eric if you've engaged with the writing of it, like the epochs, the way it delivers story. As a games writer, do you participate in that, or are you also just sucked into the gameplay?
No, I would love it. I love that they pushed it to the side so I don't have to interact with it if I don't feel like I think it's fine. I've played Slay the Spire 1, like I said, more than I've literally done any activity in my life. And I couldn't tell you what the words in any of the events say. Again, not because they could be phenomenal, but I appreciate that I'm not any of these. They tried, and again, they're just not for me. They tried to make some Slay the Spire type games that were story focused, and I was like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
So I do think it's pretty clever the way the timeline itself is a structural device clever because they can kind of like just expand it however they want. And it's weird how, same thing with Minecraft, I think. You interact with these very simple things that have no story behind them, and you just get so used to seeing them that you're kind of if you show me the fact that Lagavulin's mother appears in this, I'm like, that's great. That's all the story I need. It's Lagavulin's mother. That's great. I'm happy that there's some connective tissue, but I don't care about the story of Slay the Spire. Again, that sounds way more angry and negative than I mean it to be. I'm thrilled that they don't make me interact with it.
Yeah. It is smartly designed that way for sure. Like, save it for when you're waiting for your friends to get on to play co-op or whatever. You can engage with it whenever you want.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think for some final thoughts, it's really cool that you can draw on the map.
Yeah.
Just for funsies, or also like for practicality of trying to map out where you want to go. And like, that's something that I wanted from Slay the Spire 1, but I didn't clock like the tool could just be a little drawing pen, because I'm like, I wish I could just like mark where I'm going, because I hated constantly reopening the map and being like, okay, this is the path that I wanted to take. Let me make sure I'm not deviating. So I think that's really fun. It's very cute. And then the other thing I want to say, on top of probably 8 million other thoughts I'll have throughout the next 2 weeks to 8 months. I just, it's silly because it is just like, it's such a mechanics based game where it is just the fun of fighting and coming up with your, strategy. But I felt like a lot of nostalgia and excitement seeing like old characters reappear, but with like their new art or new look. Like seeing the cultists, I'm like, oh my god, it's the guy who goes, "Caw!" Like I'm like, that's awesome. Like, because you spend so much time fighting the same things like over and over again that you just like have this weird attachment to them. So I just thought that was kind of an unexpected thing because again, it's not a game that most people play for like the story or the lore or even like the art to a degree. Like the art in 1 is not very strong, and the art in 2 is stronger, but it's still not like, you know, wild outside of a couple of the upgraded cards look super sick. I would love for all of them to get like really pretty art. But yeah, that surprised me. I'm like, wow, I'm like so excited to see these old like characters like come back up to some degree alongside other new enemies. So yeah, welcome to the next chunk of my life. I'm gonna have to put this game down eventually to play other games. And I'm just gonna put that off for a little bit longer as a treat because I'm really enjoying my time.
My friend just posted today, just deleted my Slay the Spire save after 75 hours to get my life back.
Jeez.
People talk about this game very, very differently than other games.
Yeah.
That seems like a mistake, though, because now he can just start over. And
now he can earn everything.
Yeah, he's got
Yeah,
that
right.
optimism in
Everything
spades now, man. You can't break a perfect.
The one that I just want to mention, so Baylor Lord, the streamer that I like, he uses a mod called Map Marks, which has a really cool feature. This was for Slay the Spire 1, which I hope they implement in 2, which is instead of just drawing on the map, you can highlight nodes. So he'll be like, green path is what I think I'm going to go, but if things don't work out here, I'll go red path. And you can do it with this, but it's easier just to be like, I'm actually tracing a path
Right.
by highlighting nodes. So I guess, does that count as a final thought? I hope they...
I think it
Look,
does.
none of these are final thoughts. We're in
It's
the
gonna be
first
forever.
week of a game we're going to play for the rest of our lives.
I know. When Ben said final thoughts, I got really sad. I
Yeah,
felt
it's right.
it
No,
was
look,
like,
it can come
it felt
up
like the end of
whenever.
like a birthday party where it's like, okay, say goodbye to your friends, honey. Like, it's time to go out. And I'm like, but I'm not tired. I don't want to go to sleep yet.
It's welcome back. Slay the Spire can visit whenever they want. We can call their
Okay.
parents. It'll be great. Don't worry
you
about it.
promise? Okay, no, I'm done now.
Are y'all ready for my favorite ad read of all time that we've ever done on the podcast? And all of our ads and sponsors are wonderful, but truly this is number one. Are you ready?
Let's go.
Okay, here we go. Have you, Leo Vader, started planning your summer vacation yet?
Yeah.
Oh, well, good. Well, what if you change the plans, though? Because what if you want somewhere to go that's affordable, unique, and can be done as a road trip from Minnesota or likely another place in the Midwest? That's why they want you to come discover Pocahontas County, Iowa, baby. Pocahontas County is home to 11 large kaleidoscopes throughout its communities and county parks. As part of the state's tourism initiative to, quote, take some time discovering what Iowa has to offer, our kaleidoscopes offer a way to enjoy an affordable and fun vacation with your family, friends, or even independently. Each kaleidoscope in Iowa here contains a unique design and has its own color scheme to match the history of the town or county park that it's in. And while you're in the area, be sure to check out how the kaleidoscopes became an identity of Pocahontas County by visiting the Kaleidoscope Factory on Main Street in Pocahontas. There are several places to enjoy a bite to eat, grab a specialty coffee or tea for the road, boutiques to shop, and entertainment to enjoy throughout the entire county. You can add Pocahontas County, Iowa to your travel list this year. You can visit www.discoverpoco.com to start planning your itinerary. That's discoverpoco.com for Iowa. No one saw
That
this
is
coming.
a great ad.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
I wish every ad was just for a county with kaleidoscopes.
So it's, remember we had like the big competition where we had people write in with their hometown, like, hey, come visit us, for determining where the next great MinnMax community meetup is. So this person, they wrote in about Pocahontas, Iowa, wanting us to go there. Then eventually they got some budget in the marketing department for the tourism angle. It's like, hey, let's actually advertise on the MinnMax show and talk about these kaleidoscopes.
Yo, that's so cool.
Isn't that sweet? There you
Wow.
go. Check
Population
out
7,000, I'm reading. I will say, last year, my friends and I, we do a meetup every year, and we went to small town Wisconsin, Oshkosh, tiny place. It was one of the best trips of my life. It was so affordable, and there was so much to just like stay near the main street and walk around and do stuff. Like that type of trip with friends is so underrated.
Getting to devour an entire town, like we know every single beat. It's super fun. There you go.
See every kaleidoscope.
That's right. Look through every single
Only
one.
3 hours from my college.
See, not so bad.
3-hour drive.
Visit your old college. I've been to Oshkosh. Oshkosh is nice. They used to have a air show there that was pretty big. I don't know if they still do.
I feel like I saw signs for that.
There we go. All right. GDC. Janet, Jacob, Eric, when was the last time you went to GDC?
Well, it was a long time ago. I used to go. I doubt I'll ever go. I mean, not for any reason other than I'm just barely hanging on with my fingertips to the industry. So I don't think I'm going to GDC anymore. But I've given talks at GDC.
Yeah.
Nice.
I have one. Do you want to hear a quick GDC story?
Please.
Oh, shoot. Except I forgot the guy's name. Who's the famous designer? I wish I should remember. That's right. No, but he is. That is a correct answer in general. Made Defender and Smash.
Eugene
TV.
Jarvis.
Eugene Jarvis. So I was there with Tim. This was after I'd quit Double Fine, and I was working at Valve, but before Psychonauts had come out. And I was just hanging out at GDC with Tim. We were walking around, and Smash TV is. I remember when I said Slay the Spire was my favorite game.
Yeah.
Technically, Smash TV is my favorite.
Correct.
Of all
Yeah, it's the best.
Yeah, but so Eugene Jarvis comes up and he's like talking to Tim, and I'm standing right next to Tim. I'm like, Mr. Jarvis, Smash TV is my favorite game of all time, and he didn't even look at me. He did not acknowledge me at all. Yeah, I know. It was very sad. And then I showed him because Portal came out. It was a big deal. I bet he wished he could have talked to me. But he did not know what was happening at the moment. So anyway, yeah, that's Eugene Jarvis. I could see it, like you're getting to talk to Tim, and he's an entertaining guy, so you wouldn't necessarily want to look at me, say, if I talk to you directly. But yeah, so that soured GDC for me a little bit. But then we went back, and me and Kim Swift, I think, gave a talk. We've given at least a couple talks. Me and Chet did a talk at GDC one year. Can I keep talking for a little bit?
Please.
Should I stop? It's weird because we'll give talk. We've given talks. I'm not sure how useful I don't know how useful any of this is for anybody. It always seems like very obvious stuff that you're talking about. I guess it's just fun to be there for the most part.
It's a good question. I mean, people are always taking notes. I'm sure there's some takeaways, and I'm sure it's like anything. I think it's like frickin' college, I guess. Of just like the useful part is probably the conversations you have between the classes, between the lectures. It's making the connections. It's, handing out business cards, all that jazz. And maybe even like the small table group discussions always felt like so much more helpful. Like, I don't know, like last time I was there, I think just seeing like a small table with like, John Romero talking to a bunch of students and they get to like pick his brain, like that's more valuable than let me show you this PowerPoint presentation I made, I feel like, probably for most people.
Yeah, that's probably, I guess if you're there and you have a job and you're not looking for a new job, it's probably not super useful, other than maybe you get to meet up with some friends that you haven't seen in a while.
Well, this is what I want to talk about, because I feel like, especially this year, Haley McLean on our team up in Halifax just couldn't go this year because of immigration and the U.S. government at this point. And so I feel like there's definitely a general souring. I guess attendance was down about 30% this year for GDC, and a lot of people were like, GDC, it's just not that good anymore. I don't know, kind of like the way people talked about E3 for years and years. Like, yeah, it used to be good, but E3 2017, I don't know, like PlayStation's barely showing up these days. It's not worth it. And then I think of like Jacob Geller going to GDC for the first time, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but like it seems like it was awesome, right?
It was so funny. It was exactly E3 where everyone I met kept telling me how much this one sucked. And I was like, guys, I'm here. I'm loving this, because it was like, that was my baseline. And so, yeah, I'm very new to going to game events in general. And like last year I went to SGF, which was like, I liked seeing a bunch of other of my like reporter friends, but that was just a thing where like we got taken into rooms and shown ads basically.
Right.
And so what this felt so much more, it is an event for the people in the industry, not an event for the people advertising the industry to the outsiders, which is what, most video game events feel like. And so, yeah, just like meeting people, seeing the people who actually make games, very selfishly hearing that the people who make games that I like have also seen my videos, it's like that's the coolest thing in the world. And so I was, it's like not having anything to compare it to. I was like, oh, I totally get why this is like, the coolest version of this is the one that I would want to go to, as opposed to going to any of the kind of more consumer or journalist based like conventions.
Yeah. So you just felt like a kid in a candy store back at like the best version of college type of thing of like, all right, there's classes you can go to, and then the rest in between is just fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it was the experience that I never had in college or school or anywhere else in my life, where I could go to interesting things and then people would stop me on the way in and be like, hey man, how you doing? It's like I was thinking a lot about how like everyone there has like made things that people have loved and has like affected people's lives, and I'm the only one who put his face all over it. And so I was like, while you have stopped me to say you like my videos, the guy who did the art for your favorite game in the world probably just walked past and no one noticed. So there was definitely kind of like a weird feeling with that. But yeah, I mean, Jana and I had such a good time. Being able to go to the award shows and then like hang out with people afterwards was really nice. This was the first year where they had split up the independent awards and the GDC awards, which are for more of the mainstream. The GDC awards was another Expedition 33 sweep, basically. The IGFs were cool and had a bunch of games that you had not heard of that were winning things. And so especially then, like after that, going to, see our friends, like Sarah Elmalo was there, as I talked about, Bennett Foddy and Gabe Cazillo from Baby Steps, Jenny from Consume Me. It's like that's the one where it was like, I know who you are and I basically know what you did on this game, which is very exciting because big games that we love, have hundreds of people working on them. Yeah. And it's hard to know who did what.
Yeah. Janet, did it feel different since you've been to GDC a couple times now?
The only thing that felt a little different, this is my third time attending a GDC, and I've only attended it in like recent history, like the last few years, was for my personal interests in game talks, which is mostly a big game I'm into is doing a talk. I usually try to attend those because I like the game, so maybe there'll be something interesting about that. Narrative stuff, sound design stuff, to some degree like indie leaning things like self-publishing or Steam discoverability, which like those talks, they're there like every year. Every year there'll be stuff on those topics. Yeah. I felt like there was a little bit less than there were in previous years for like my personal like interests. Like again, that's me specific, so I don't know if that speaks to the kinds of talks in general or like the quality of them or anything like that. Just my perspective. And then I do think this is the year where more so than even the last 1 to 2 years, there was a lot of that discussion of how many people couldn't attend. Specifically due to like the immigration issues of people coming in overseas. That being said, obviously there were some people there from the international like realm, but like it maybe wasn't as much as like before. And like that was very like felt. And that's something that I think, especially the Indie Game Awards, like they always use their stage time to like talk about the issues that are going on, not just in the industry, but in society. And like that was very specifically called out of like the people that can't be here because of what's going on in the country. And then I think the only other like thing that stood out as different is they like added food sections and gates to the GDC gardens, which was very controversial because people were like, do you need like a pass to get in? And then there was like a lot of miscommunication from like, and this is not trying to be blamey, but like people heard different things from like the people working the event at GDC, like the staff that, is largely volunteer, obviously, but like, oh, it's only open from this section. And then people being like, no, you can just walk in, it's fine. And then people being like, I don't care if you can still walk in, I think it's weird. So there was just like a lot of that. And like a little bit of different show floor space stuff. I did hear that like they struggled to like sell a certain amount of the space, which probably ties into like the lower attendance. But I also think that like every year there are different struggles with like putting on a big event like this. And that's not to be like, I don't know, a GDC corporate stan or anything, but I think there's always going to be challenges to like convince people, yeah, you should pay X amount of dollars to like do these different things. I mean, it's just still, despite having like additional
amount of dollars.
passings.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. Yeah, I thought it was wild that like AP Thompson won the grand prize at the IGF Awards as for Titanium Court. Where it's like, it's wild because then like last year he was like the co-director for Consume Me. It's just like win it back to back, but both years also games that technically had not released. Like when the award was given, like I'm still confused about how that works. Is it based off the like sweet demo for Titanium Court that this guy is freaking
I really
sweeping?
need to just ask. I'm sure that we could find that information out. I should.
Yeah, well,
dig
because I mean,
around. 'Cause
honestly,
I'm sure
we had.
they would tell you. I don't think it's a secret, but it's also never been talked about really.
Yeah, but it was actually cool because we ran into both, and as you'll see in the travelogue, like Austin Walker was there, Emma Kidwell, we spent some time about. Both were like IGF judges for the narrative portion of the game. At least Austin said, like, I was only on narrative, which was won by Perfect Guide Station to Station, directed by Meredith Grant, who
there we go.
you know, had on and talked about a lot. But like, I really like the... You know, I much prefer the award shows that are kind of voted on by a selected group of people who really know that thing, rather than everyone who votes for the Game Awards trying to decide what game direction means. You know, something that all of us are kind of like, I don't know. So yeah, I am curious about that because they seemed fairly, you know, rigorously curated in terms of like what games were played and submitted and how the process worked. So like I'm sure there's an answer, but yes, it is funny also that AP Thompson essentially won 2 years in a row for a game that is not yet released.
It's super impressive.
Jay's monologue was really good. I think it's worth like going back and watching that because it was genuinely like the funniest, most personable, most interesting like tee up for an award that I've heard at a show, like any show. And I've seen like, you know, pretty much all the Game Awards for like the last, who knows how many years, maybe like 10 or something. And then a couple of the GEC ones, like, which like the GEC indie ones always have like a little bit of like fun little theatrics and they like do like, you know, cute little bits. But this was like very, very funny. Like she was just wonderful. But yeah, I really enjoyed GEC overall. Jacob, I don't want to embarrass you, so I'll be brief, but like the amount of people that came up to Jacob cannot, okay. There were so many people came up to Jacob. It was funny because we were there, you know, with MinnMax. Isaiah was also there, like doing his own thing he came through like Games and Not Games, a show that I do with him on the side. And like, you know, he was there to help out with little MinnMax things here and there, which very grateful for always. We were talking and he's like, it's crazy because like, Jacob's like just this guy, but he's like so wildly popular. Y'all, someone was on a bus and got off the bus to say hi to him and then ran back on the bus. And on the drive back, because we drove up from LA, on the drive back, I was like, I'm really not even trying to be funny about it because also maybe I'm just not as into celebrity as like other people are. And that's not a judgment. That's just like, I think a vibe. I'm like, I don't think there's anyone on earth I would get off my bus for to say I didn't get back on. So it's just like, and that's not to judge that person that did it.
No,
but
it's impressive.
Wow, like it reminds me of this is like old, you know, aught story, but when Eminem first hit the scene, he was so wildly popular that when he was on, like, was it TLC or one of those shows? They're like, we have to put the blinds down because if he turns his back to the crowd, people are gonna go nuts downstairs, and that's how it felt being with Jacob Keller at GDC. Like, people
me and Eminem
were like very excited to see
Honestly,
Jacob and compliment his work. Isaiah's like, I don't know if you noticed, but like there'd be like people that would follow us for like a little while looking for a gap to say hi. And then when they didn't find it, they would like dip off. And so it was very like...
I didn't want to bring it up, but I did hear that Eugene Jarvis asked for his autograph, which seems frankly rude.
Jacob big leagued him.
It was when we went to Brazil, I felt like Pigpen in Charlie Brown Christmas, where I like turned to Ben afterwards, and I was like, kind of makes you want to treat me with a little more respect.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you found your environment.
It was wild to like I told Isaiah, I'm like, what's kind of messed up is that there are so many people who would die to be me right now because I'm spending time with Jacob.
Okay, this is getting creepy.
No, but like eating like a pancake with Jacob, I'm like, this is someone's like dream moment, and for me, it's just breakfast.
And you're like, damn, this is boring. People's dreams are boring.
Anyway, but that was cool. And Jacob's book was also at the store. We found out, and it sold out.
We
so that was
didn't
cool.
see it because they had.
That's
they had
awesome.
I
sold
did a
all their
little
copies.
boots on the ground journalism, and I was like, "Do you have Jacob Geller's book?" Like me walking away from Jacob Geller to ask if they have his book, and hoping no one notices at the store. But yeah, it was a fun time.
Oh, that's sweet. Yeah, the travelogue should be up early next week if you want to see actually video of the entire week and how that works. You mentioned Perfect Tide Station to Station and Meredith Grant, who just feels like she's speaking for an entire group of people at this point. But I assume you read her GDC like recap blog post, which is so good. Like the part that killed me is her talking about being at the IGF pavilion for like the press hour, and she's like, "Yeah, we waited for an entire hour and 0 press came by." You know, it's just like for the entire indie scene, and it's like, God, that's heartbreaking. And she brought up, like I know now a lot of outlets are, not able to come financially, or they've been shut down in the last year, so I get it. But it is just this sad situation on both sides, where it's like, what a bummer for these amazing indie devs to like stand around and wait for press to come around that don't come around. But then again, I'm thinking about it from the press angle. I'm like, it's not exactly the greatest place for a quick interview. It's like you're going to talk to everybody for 2 minutes. Like, what could you really get out of those discussions? So it just feels like it's a bad mix for everybody, but that broke my heart to see.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that show floor was like, a lot of talk about AI in the industry, as we'll get to more of. The show floor was kind of covered in different AI companies. There's a really interesting Polygon piece where the writer was like, I went to all the AI stuff. I talked to everyone. What's interesting is how little consistency there is between what anyone is offering. Some are like asset creation, some is like bug fixing, some is like, we'll just make your whole game for you. And then also at the GDCAs, the bigger awards show, comedy maybe not as successful as Jenny's speech at the IGFs, but it was like every single joke was like, FAI, we all hate you. Like every single, and I just kind of wondered, it's like, obviously it was hosted by a writer, and so it makes sense, but it was like, I was like, if there are developers here who are excited about the advent of AI, they are not talking to anyone about it because they know that everyone else hates it. And it's a weird, like, when blockchain was there a couple years ago, I feel like everyone rolled their eyes and said, haha, what a silly thing. But it was, I don't think there was the level of hostility towards the preeminent technology being shown off on kind of the expo floor.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like, I mean, I don't know if we're get into it if you want, but this AI stuff is literally going to change the world, or has already, in a way that blockchain doesn't. I mean, for better and worse. I guess you're playing to the crowd. It seems a little bit hacky to just do one anti-AI joke after another.
I fully agreed with everything that she was saying, and at the same time, it was a little bit hacky of like, we don't want to be thinking about this. Like, you don't have to make every joke.
Yeah, it's the MinnMax Thanksgiving jokes problem. Yeah.
I know, it's just repeating the same thing over and over again. Erik, I'm curious about like your perspective, saying you're holding onto the industry with one hand, or wherever you phrased it, like, again, Meredith Grant, that GDC blog where she just wrote about like the highs and lows of GDC, and then she wrote, what I've seen makes me want to keep my life focused, keep my life small and focused, make work by any means necessary on shoestring budgets, and ignore the industry completely. It's not like the industry has any answers or knows what's next anyway. Are you kind of living that dream of just like unplugging? You're just focusing on your family on a farm in West Virginia, and that's the way to have it.
I don't want to make it sound too dire. I'm only hanging out just more out of choice, not because things are so dark. It's just Valkyrie gives me the freedom to kind of work on the thing that I'm interested in at the moment, and I'm not there. I work remotely, 95% of the time. And, I'm genuinely as scary. Well, I'm still, I guess, maybe 10 years away from the classical retirement age. But, I'm not 20 anymore. And I've done way more than I ever thought I would. So it's not like the industry sucks so bad that I want to be out of it. It's just, I don't. Making a game is so hard and takes so much work that I don't even know. Like, if I can poke my head in and help out a little bit, I'm happy to, but I don't know that I can devote that sort of time to it anymore. Having said that, can I talk about AI for
Yeah,
1 minute?
sure.
So one thing we've been doing, and when I say we, I don't mean Valve. I mean a small group of people at Valve. You're always getting to poke around at new stuff, and so we've been looking at some AI stuff. And I think that AI, well, so it's taught me a bunch of stuff. Like, I'm currently not worried about AI taking over creative writing because it is pretty bad at it. And I'm not just saying that defensively. Like, we've really been messing around with it. And like art, there's a lot of questions about that. But I don't think it's going to anytime soon be writing novels that are better than better than a lot of human novels, but not better. It's like chess programs. Like, the best people in the world are going to beat them. I don't actually even know if that's true anymore.
I
But
don't think
let's
so,
just
but yeah.
assume that
Not with chess, but with
there's
bridge.
plenty of people that write terrible novels. So, there's no shortage of bad novels. But if you throw enough artists at a game, enough humans can create the art for a game, or almost any of the disciplines. The thing that with game writing, and game writing specifically, is that we have always had to simulate. What we're trying to simulate is characters in the game reacting to whatever you do in real time. And we make these matrices, Left 4 Dead's a good example of, like, if this happens and this happens, we'll play this line. It's the one place where I feel like AI is worth investigating, is game writing. And the thing that we've found is that, and this is just early days, and when I say we, this is not a Valve, well, it's Valve endorsed in the sense that we are working for Valve, but just kind of poking around at this stuff, is that, and this is not attached to any particular game, this is nothing other than, I'm really...
You're hedging. Yeah.
This is just some people sitting around being like, this is a crazy technology. It would be kind of silly for us not to look into it, at least. And the things that we've found as a group is that the interesting thing is it's not good at being especially creative. It's not good at being funny, but it's kind of interesting imagine Grand Theft Auto, where you're going around creating a lot of physical chaos. There's a certain amount of social chaos where you have the AI play the straight man as much as it can, and it's just reacting to whatever insanity. It's one thing it's very good at is just going along with whatever insane thing you say and kind of adjusting to the flow of that. There's something there. There is a dream of, and this has been, again, we've tried to simulate it all these years of having characters in games just react to you, to whatever action you're taking. And typically the verbs in games are pretty limited in the sense that it's jump, it's punch, it's something physical, but we've actually reached the point now where it can just be, the verbs are actual verbs of you just saying things and seeing what happens. Now, this is all very sketchy, but there's something there, again, specifically for games, specifically in character interactions. And I don't know what it is. And it's too expensive now to ship at scale, I think. But something's there.
So it's also, at this point in the technology, it seems like it's too hard to put the right restrictions on it. My friend was playing Where Winds Meet, which has, like, you can start an AI conversation with any shopkeeper in this, like, I don't know much about the game, but it's like feudal Japan something, hundreds of years ago. And he's like, what do you think of Milwaukee, Wisconsin? And the shopkeeper's like, Milwaukee, what a beautiful land.
It is. So that's also difficult. I think there's probably, hopefully there's a solution to that. I'm less worried about you can prompt the AI enough to get it to say some insanely offensive stuff. I'm less worried about that because I kind of liken it to if I buy a piece of paper and then I write some racist shit on it, and then I'm like, look at paper company, look what you made me do. Like, you kind of ask for it in that case, but you don't want it to happen unprompted. Anyway, that's farther down the line. That's like a problem to be solved later.
Yeah.
But there is a bunch. I guess what I'm saying is, I am very interested in it in this very specific case. Because it will allow you to do something that is impossible, no matter how many humans you throw at it.
Right. And so are you, this is why it's so loaded with you saying that, because in my mind, I'm like, you're saying that you want to see the potential of AI responding to what a player does as long as the AI is playing the straight man, almost as if a robot was responding to the way that you're playing through a game.
I'm not saying I want it only in that case. I'm just saying what we found is that is the best. That is the case where it is most successful.
Right.
And again, I keep saying we. Let it be known far and wide that this is not a concerted Valve thing.
Right.
In fact, this may be the first time they're hearing about it. It's just trying to find best practices with the technology that we currently have access to.
I don't know if you followed, God, I forget the name of the studio, but Jake Solomon, creative director for XCOM and XCOM 2 for Access, he left and after Midnight Suns and was working on an independent project. And it's now been revealed that, we had him on the podcast years ago to talk about it. And it was like, oh, it's a project that's like The Sims. We want to try and make an independent take on The Sims. And it seems like now the studio shut down, the project is canceled. And so he released like a video. And the project was basically The Sims, but with AI responses from all these different characters, which in my mind, I'm curious to learn more about that project. But I'm like, that feels like exactly the pitch that would succeed right now if you said it's The Sims plus AI. So like, I don't know how that went so wrong where the entire studio collapses?
It's partly, it's got to be server.
Because then they had to actually make it, Ben.
I see.
Oh, they didn't make it?
Well, I don't know how far they got. They had a whole pitch video and stuff that seemed like it was AI responding in some way in there.
Let me also mention, if I haven't, that what seems to work best for us in our limited testing, it's not my full-time job, is also that there are where it's kind of human directed. Like the stuff that works best is where I've written a scenario, I've written a bunch of lines, there's lines in the that it's a real collaboration between a person, me, not just the person playing the game, but me, the writer, and the AI. That's when it works best, and not when the AI. And we've actually had some stuff that I consider really interesting and really entertaining little scenarios. Again, who knows? There's so many. Just like Leo was, there's so many problems to solve. So many.
Yeah.
And that's the weird thing about from a consumer level for me is like when there's any AI involved, then I'm thinking with every line, like, is this AI? Is this AI? So it becomes kind of messy to have it like mixed in like that. But for certain things, like you're saying, things that are impossible to do or really, really unpleasant to do and make no difference. Like my dad used AI to help with his taxes this year. And I was like, I am against AI, but I'm not going to say you have to spend extra time doing this horrible, excruciating thing that nobody should have to do.
No, it is
like
famously bad with numbers, so that scary. Is, fingers crossed for your dad that it worked. But
it is really actually our little group that just sent me a thing called "Can LLMs Be Computers?" which I'm not going to go into, but it's about LLMs simulating a computer inside them in order to do math without having to write code that then is run on another computer to do math. Can't fully wrap my head around it at the moment, but there's it seems pretty interesting. Anyway, I'm fascinated by it. I understand the pitfalls. There's it's a weird mixture of like, when photography came out, painters were like, this bullshit. But it's a weird mixture of like that plus the atom bomb. Like it's something that's both creatively destructive, but could actually be literally existentially destructive. But it's also, it's so amazing that, it's so crazy that I use it. We're in an industry where people are very focused on this and very against it. But when I just talk to normal people out in the world, they can't get enough of it, which maybe is scary too. People, like they're just talking to Gemini on their way to work on their phone. But I use it for, just ChatGPT for stuff. And it is sometimes I step back and I'm like, I am just talking in English to my computer and it's giving me crafted responses back. I mean, this is something that 5 years ago you would have thought was 500 years in the future, and it just hit like a bomb. Like, it seemed an impossible science fiction idea. And again, like many impossible science fiction ideas, there's some unintended consequences. But it
and it's kind of just an impression of an answer in a way, the way it combines sentences to form real sounding sentences in a way that like can still prompt a real idea or can still be a thing you haven't thought of. But it's, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's weird. It feels infinitely intelligent when what's going on.
Sure, I get that it is, and it's terrible at being creative. I mean, that's one of the reasons, because humor requires a sort of coming up with an idea that seems new in the moment. It's one of the reasons it's really bad at it, I think. It's not good at coming up with new ideas, but it is good at talking to it like a normal, like, again, in a movie 10 years ago, if they had been like 10 years from now, we have this movie and people are just talking to their computers and it's responding to them in natural language, you've been like, yeah, that seems unlikely. And yet it was pretty likely.
It's interesting that it seems almost that the aesthetics of it got there before the rest of it. You know, I think one of the reasons that people are so taken with it, you know, talking about like talking to normal people and they're all just like talking to Gemini on their way to work, is like we've kind of, in all our science fiction ideas, we're like the highest level is a computer that can talk back to you. You know, that this is C-3PO. This is like someone that can understand what you're saying and respond in naturalistic speech. And the fact that like that has got there means that then we are maybe not as critical as we should be of the output, because it's like it's delivered so convincingly. You know, you're like, how could this thing that's speaking in normal sentences that apologizes when it's wrong, you know, like it's so convincing,
which it would have
you know,
to do
in just like its thing. Yeah, that it feels like Leo said, of kind of like it gives the impression of having, you know, this infinite intelligence being, even if it's still got a way to go before it gets there.
Yeah, even if it doesn't know like who played in what movie. You know, I think that it's tough to. I think people are probably so taken by it because it is easy and it is quick, but that doesn't mean that it's accurate. And I feel like it's going to be really interesting moving forward societally, where I was talking to my partner about this as someone who has a teaching background, where like it's besides the ecological catastrophe that is like AI at this point, like the people wanting to skip to like just the answer, right? Where it's like, you know, you'll have students before like this just Googling and being like, yep, Google said this. It's like, okay, but did you look at any context? So then to be presented with something with no context at all, it's like, it's the ultimate need for like a double check. And if you need to double check it, then why not just go to the main thing to begin with? But I don't know. I think it is like I'm going to, you know, tap it and like click into it and kind of just like have the answer in the way that I think we've gotten used to certain tools like predictive text, you know, being something that we use like when texting, but it is quite different. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens next. And I am afraid.
You can't say.
Constantly toggling those things off because I find them to be nothing's better than just me doing what I was doing before. Yeah,
it makes me wish for regulation on the like sources, and of course so many of these LLMs and beyond are built on stolen things that they like. If they had to cite like, here is what this result pulled from, and you could click like, here's the source of this information or whatever. If you generated an image, you had to have record of it being generated, so that you could tell if an image was fake versus just like the deep fake world we're entering. Yeah, I wish we had more. I don't know. The AIs had to credit their sources. I don't know.
I think the tragedy is we're not able to appreciate it as the, you know, what should be an incredibly cool technology, because it is immediately thrust into the realities of the world, you know, of like it being like, it is, you know, like in a vacuum, all of this stuff is cool. It's cool that it can happen. It's cool that it can do this, but then you're weighing it's cool versus this is what's happening, in the same way that, like, I think a lot of people who play video games, like, kind of think guns are cool. You know, like, I think that, like, guns are cool. I like, you know, when a game has a gun that I recognize, and then I'm like, oh, but I can't think that this is cool uncritically. Like, unfortunately, this doesn't exist in a vacuum
or
in the
think
way that I would like it.
Thing should be in everyone's hands because of
I just want to be clear. I'm interested in this insofar as it makes a better experience for people playing the game, not as a cost-cutting measure.
Right.
Like, I genuinely would like to find the thing that is like, this is something that could not have been done before, and this opens up a whole new style of gameplay, or just a whole new experience. Like, it as just something that makes the game cheaper to make, I'm fully against it. And the voice, I also want to say we tested with some different of the AI voice generations. And again, kind of preface all this with it's all amazing that any of this works to me at all, but they're so much worse than real actors.
Yeah.
They're so that's another problem, is unless it's text, it's going to be a pretty shitty voice acting at this point.
There's that Arc Raiders news this week that Arc Raiders has started putting real people back into its AI generated voice NPCs.
Yeah, and that's, I'm assuming, I haven't played much Arc Raiders, is basically just for game barks, which don't require a lot of acting talent to begin with. But for something that's an actual where I'm going to have a conversation game, it really breaks down pretty fast.
Yeah.
It's not. They're not interesting. And again, it's all things to either problems to solve, or they'll never be solved, and this will eventually just go away the way whatever did not crypto. What? Why can't I think of
NFTs or whatever?
Blockchain.
Yeah. NFTs went away, right? Like
I think so. I haven't seen them lately.
People are still somehow making billions of dollars off of their descendants.
Leo, what sucks is when communication breaks down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind of like when you have a crappy phone service. You know what I mean?
Oh, yes. I was just thinking about this.
And especially when it's a crappy phone service and you're paying way too much damn money for it. You know what I'm talking about?
Just preaching the choir, buddy.
All right, I'm talking about the opposite of your problems with Mint Mobile. Janet switched to Mint years ago, and she's laughing all the way to the damn bank over there.
Yeah, Mint Mobile predates most of the work you've seen me do on the internet. Like, I've been on Mint Mobile since maybe 2019, recommended to me by Isaiah. And yeah, I've been super happy with the service. I travel a lot for work, which is great. And it's been totally seamless, simple, upfront cost. I just pay the annual. You could do a monthly. I pay very little. People are always shocked how little I pay for cell service, and it works great.
Yeah, you're smarter than all
Your
of us.
background colors are the Mint Mobile colors.
Yeah, they
For
do.
a
They do have me
reason.
clocked for the millennial green sage color that everyone's drawn to. But it works. It looks really nice.
And so you can ditch overpriced wireless and get 3 months of premium wireless service from Mint Mobile for $15 a month. Stop overpaying for wireless just because that's how it's always been. Mint Mobile exists to fix that as an alternative for if you want to check it out. So if you like your money, they want you to know that Mint Mobile is an option for you. You can shop plans at mintmobile.com/MinnMax. That's mintmobile.com/MinnMax. Upfront payment of $45 for 3 month 5 gigabyte plan required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customer offer for first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees are extra. You can see Mint Mobile for details, but follow that link in the description if you want to check out Mint Mobile and see if it's right for you for a phone service plan. Instead of Slay the Spire II, which Eric, I understand is consuming your life, you don't have time for anything else, Mewgenics is also one that you said you wanted to touch on, and it seems like people are still going back to Mewgenics. Jacob, you're still playing it. Leo, you still playing Mewgenics?
I haven't gotten to talk about Mewgenics on the pod at all.
Jesus. All right, let's jump on it. But Eric, you've been playing it too?
I was until Slay the Spire 2 came out.
I
was kind of split my time between Neo 3 and Mewgenics.
Ooh, Neo 3. Neo 3, by the way, thumbs up. We haven't talked about it yet on the podcast.
I skipped Neo 2 for some reason. I don't even know why. I love, yeah, Neo 3's really great. I'm eventually go back to it. It's easier than Neo 1, but I don't really mind that much.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Okay, nice. That's good. That's good. Mewgenics, though, it's just a game that is infinitely deeper the more you play. I mean, Jacob, what's your revelation with Mewgenics here?
Yeah, I think it's it's interesting because the comparison with Slay the Spire 2 is inevitable, as these two kind of like endless roguelikes that you could play right next to each other. And I think the special sauce of Mewgenics is the same thing that the Binding of Isaac had, which is just the sheer volume of like variables of kind of items and traits and skills mean that like I have not had, in Slay the Spire, you are generally building into archetypes. And there's variation, but it's like, oh, I'm playing the Silent and I'm a Shiv deck or whatever. I have not had two Mewgenics runs that are like remotely similar. They just go branching off in such wild different directions because the possible interactions between the items you get and the skills your cat picks up along the way and the genetic traits that they're born with just makes it like so distinct every time in a way that like basically what it boils down to with me is like I think the tactics game part of Mewgenics is like about as good as any tactics game I've ever played.
Jesus.
And my little hang up is the breeding part of it, which is kind of the, in an XCOM comparison, you have the part where you're fighting aliens and the part where you go back to the base. And the base kind of wants you to get really nitty gritty with the specific traits that you're breeding for, while also kind of not giving you all the tools that you would want. Basically, you want a spreadsheet. You want the game to just give you a spreadsheet at one point, and instead you are manually picking up your cats and moving them around. But the tactics stuff is just phenomenal. It's just, the game is singing the whole time.
Yeah, I 100% agree with Jacob. No notes. So I started having more fun with it when I realized, and I doubt this will hold true for higher level play, that I could ignore the cat breeding part and I would just take 4 random cats, wait until I got 4 cats and just enjoy the tactics part, because the tools, like just reiterating it, that they give you to manage your cats seem wholly inadequate to the task at hand. I think it's almost like just kind of knowing how is Edmund McMullen is, like it's almost like a sick joke, like you just got to herd these cats and he's laughing at you. But I do not, and maybe I'll come to like it or the tools will get better. I am not having any fun with the cat breeding part of it, and it's very opaque to me and I don't really understand it. I could probably watch a YouTube video and figure it out. It's part of it is that it's kind of like movies where they flash back and you're like, get back to the main movie. Like, I don't care about this flashback. It's I just want the tactics part. I don't care about the cat breeding. So, and you can, I think, I don't know how long you can ignore it for at least to where I am and still have some success.
Yeah. And you can also, you can get yourself set up to the extent that so there are kind of 2 different aspects of the cat breeding, which is the first thing you're going for is just the stats, that cats have kind of a 1 through 7 on, health, strength, luck, magic, a bunch of different stats. And you want to get those all up as high as possible. And without too much work, you can generally do that, and you can set up a pretty sustainable, you've just got 2 cats with high stats in a room and they breed. And if both cats have high stats, they make a kitten with high stats. And then you do that. The kind of later game stuff is, in addition to high stats, the cats can have certain mutations that can be really game changing of, instead of walking, this cat jumps, meaning that you're going to avoid any damaging tiles in the middle, or this cat can ignore an instance of damage every time. And your cat can get 10 of those per cat. And so the like incredibly high level stuff, and I have not gotten here, but my understanding is like the game gets very, very hard in the same way that Isaac got very, very hard. You know, you have to kind of get your cats to an unfair level because the game is going to be unfair against them.
Right.
Which I like in concept. You know, I like the I'm super overpowered, the game's super overpowered, let's see who wins. But it's just that process of getting there is unfortunate. But I don't want to talk about that too much because just like the interactions that you can have, it is almost kind of like you are given so many options. It feels like immersive simmy almost in like, oh, this cat's really good at like making things wet, and then this cat has an electric power, and then this cat actually heals when it's shocked. And so you can like set up all these things, you know, in ways that feel completely different and unique every time.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a phenomenal tactics game. I mean, I've played probably before this. My favorite tactics games were a sucker for the Disgaea games. They're, you know, it's the same game every time, but I'll get it every single time. And they're not roguelikes. They're more like this power curve thing where you're leveling your guys up to insane levels. But the tactical part of it is really enjoyable for me. And I guess would you count what was the game with robots that was real puzzle-like?
Into the Breach?
Into the Breach is similar, but I'm not sure which one's more like. I guess it's single screen like Mewgenics was. Anyway, Into the Breach was a ton of fun too. But yeah, I was having a blast. I just, again, was sad that I had to deal with the breeding part, because just like you said, as shitty as it sounds, I wanted that thing to just be a personality-less spreadsheet, basically, where I could just move things around.
Into the Breach, like, I'm not a big tactics person, but Into the Breach is a massive, massive exception for me. That's one of my favorite games ever. And it's presented so slickly, and you have no problem just like sitting in one turn for 30 minutes thinking about what you're going to do, because the mood is so great, and you're seeing it all the different cool ways it could play out and things to be concerned about. Mewgenics, I won't take up much time because I have 10 minutes of playtime, and that represents 2 attempts to get into this game, where both times it just the way it looked and sounded, I was like, within 5 minutes, don't speak to me like this. I don't have to put up with this. And then, you know, the reward afterwards is to play a tactics game. It's like, this is easy for me to not get into. Even though, like Jacob says, some of the immersive sim stuff sounds promising. Yeah. I just find it too tall of a hurdle to get over.
And I think there's probably reasons for it that I'm not thinking of. The lack of an undo button is rough for me.
Straight Into the Breach feature, yeah.
And Disgaea has an undo button. At a certain point, I mean, they have to lock it off, but this has no undo, like, at all.
Yeah, I mean, its failure is very much like that's built in. You know, I think the game wants you to have, oh my god, we're all doing so well, and then at one point, one of my cats just got the trait Bloodlust, which means after it like hits an enemy, it just goes crazy and will start hitting anything, and just like killed my whole team. One of the things that I actually really like about the game is that there are 2 different versions of, like, if your cat takes HP damage down to 0, it kind of faints, and then it gets up at the end of the round. But there is also the cat's body is destroyed thing. Also, this is a game about killing cats, so like that's another hurdle you got to get over. But like, you usually when you're hurt, you're just downed, and then you can get up, and your cat has like, oh, they have an injury, so they can't do as much damage or whatever next time. But sometimes there are some enemies that will just not just insta kill you, but like consume the cat's body. And every time that has happened, I like actually gasp in real life, which is like the game is getting a reaction out of me, you know, like it's like it is so devastating. And kind of a, you know, maybe a problem with it, but also something I like about it is like the runs are so long.
Yeah.
It's like it takes easily twice as long, if not 3 times as long, to play a round of this as Slay the Spire. And so like you're really in it with these cats, you know, like you're kind of getting to know them. And so then to just have one be like swallowed by a, you know, carnivorous plant halfway through your run is this kind of like very memorable, horrible moment in the same way that losing a guy in XCOM is.
I guess maybe XCOM is a good comp. I didn't play a ton of XCOM, but yeah, I know you get attached. I'm torn on the length. I wish it was shorter when I'm starting, but I'm not as worried about it in the middle of a run. I'm invested in it. The thing that, and again, this is me projecting, some of the like UI or the rough edges, I feel like Edmund McMillan put them in deliberately, like because he thought it was funny that it would be really bad for me to use this interface or something. And that, I mean, I don't think that's probably true. And, you know, maybe they'll fix some of this stuff in updates.
I think it is. I agree. I mean, the game was in development for like 12 years. There's no way that like no one ever along the way was like, should we make this a spreadsheet? And so I've kind of been wrestling with like, is this an intended aspect of the game design that I'm not appreciating in some way?
Forget the spreadsheet. As far as I know, there's no like, you can't just pause it so those stupid cats aren't running all over the place while I'm trying to pick them up. Let me hover over them, which would be like a halfway point between spreadsheet and what's actually happening there.
Right. Eesh. All right, Mewgenics, I'm sure we'll talk about it more throughout the year as well as people continue to dabble, all that fun stuff. Leo, real quick, or hey man, as long as you want, World's your oyster. The Division 2, is this just like a Steam Deck guilty pleasure? I know you love your kind of quote-unquote retro games at this point on the Steam Deck, but...
Yes, 45 minutes on this will be fine.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you.
Please, floor is yours.
This is one of those games that's just perpetually on the back burner. Like, boy, I know if I downloaded that again, I would have fun. And they were doing their 10 years of the Division, 10 years since the Division 1, 8 years of the Division 2.
Okay.
Bit of an update with the new realism mode, which is like taking all the loot out of it. Division's, of course, a looter shooter where you got to be really invested in your build. And I was interested in like diving back in with a new character, just doing the gunplay, which I think is fun. And the cover shooting, which the cover shooter genre is like kind of relegated to a Xbox 360 thing we don't think about anymore. But the Division kind of is the peak of it and shows why it can be so fun, really tactically using cover and using skills that can... It's like thinking all about positioning versus like just quick reaction times.
Yeah.
So that core gameplay is really fun, but I ended up not getting into that realism mode really and just going back to the base game and picking it up with friends. There's DLCs I haven't done and trying out new builds, which are just so fun to think about, so rewarding to be tweaking little things. The one I came back to that I had left was like every shot with a marksman rifle flips a card. And when 5 shots hit that hand of cards, based on how good it is, I get a bonus to my damage. So there's an element of random generation there that's really fun and presented in a really cool way where the cards are on screen and everything. So that's fun to just dip back into that gameplay and then doing a new build from there. I'm working on now one with a shield that's more close range. And I have a special exotic SMG I found that the shield is constantly losing health every second it's out, but it regains health as I hit people with it. So it's and like there's kind of at least 5 or 6 pieces of gear you'll have on, including your weapons, that are do this thing and this thing happens, and you can really make your own cocktail of gameplay that rewards switching weapons at specific moments or planning for engagements in a certain way. It's just been really rewarding. It's the same old great game it always was.
Yeah.
But it's a decent time to get into it while it's on sale.
They're still updating it, huh?
Yeah. Remarkably.
It is weird. Maybe they're just trying to drum up interest because, like, you know, that team went on to do the Avatar game and Star Wars Outlaws. Now they're working on Division 3, and so it's kind of nice to like, as they've gone through this big IP journey now, to go back to the roots and like try and drum up interest again. And be like, by the way, the thing you love us from initially, the Division, like, still good. So remember that for a couple years from now when Division 3 comes out or whatever, you know.
Yeah, really, it doesn't feel like it's aged a day. Versus Siege, which I still play and is 10 years old and I do still love, but looks bad even for 10 years ago standards.
Really?
Somehow the Division 2 is still just really slick and smooth to play. Playing on controller for the first time feels great there. It's such a couch game, you know?
Yeah,
I wanted to have my crack shots, but it's nice to lay back on the TV.
Absolutely sweet. Division 2, still good, everybody. And then real quick, because we have 5 hours of the deepest dive that's up on MinnMax's YouTube channel and bonus podcast feed, but Resident Evil Requiem. Jacob Geller, anybody else who's finished, without spoilers here, big thumbs up, big thumbs middle. I feel like the second half of the game is divisive. Talk about the division. Is that fair to say?
I don't even know if it's the middle of or the back half of the game is divisive as much as just like everyone agrees that the first half of the game is like some of the best stuff that's ever been in Resident Evil.
Yeah.
And then the back half of the game is like, they're doing the back half of a Resident Evil game thing again. You know, they just can't help themselves.
Okay.
Which I hear is a more modern problem. Like again, we do want to be brief, so we don't have to go into everyone's history on Resident Evil on a personal level. But as someone that's newer to the franchise, I often say the same thing where it's like, that's what they do. They like kind of fumble the back half, or it just isn't quite as good as what they start with. And I don't know, that is weird that it seems like more of a modern issue. But now that time has passed from me rolling credits, I do still think this is, because the beginning is so strong, and I think they do such a great job on the structure of that it's like, that's got to be worth something, you know? But it is one of those weird things where it's like, what do you do with like when the first half of your game is a 9 out of 10 and the second half is like a 7 to like maybe an 8 if I'm feeling generous? If I'm being like, this was pretty good. And it's not even that, what's wild is nothing bad happens. Like when I'm like the second half of the game, there's not like a moment where you're like, oh my God, this section was horrible, or this really sucked, or I hated this thing. It just all feels a little bit weaker, a little bit meandering. Like there are some parts in the second half that I quite enjoy, of like cool set pieces, or like, this area, you know, when you're in there's an area where you're in like a tall building and you get to do some fun environmental work. I liked that. But ultimately, it just wasn't as strong. And even when they kind of went back to like what was good in a way, I'm like, this is also kind of the weaker of this stuff. So again, I know it's annoying to speak in vagueness, but
some of that is fan service that I think might be more divisive if you think it's like condescending or cool to be bringing certain things back. But yeah, that does hit in an interesting way where you're like, if this came as the game started with this stuff, it would be like, why don't they have new enemies? Like they have so many cool new enemies in the first half, but it's like we take these and we move them towards the end, and now it's like exciting to see them again. There's a little bit of this is cool, and there's a little bit of is this kind of filler where you don't have to design something new, really.
Their nostalgia plays, I think, also were like very short-lived, kind of, in a way where it's like, I didn't really feel like you knew what you wanted to do with this. It's like a lot of flash in the pan stuff that just like, it feels like it's almost for no one. Where like it feels like it's just to get a good rise. So did that work for you, Jacob? The kind of throwbacks?
Yeah, I mean, we talk about this in the deepest dive, but like, I think I'll recommend everyone read Harper McIntyre's article on Kotaku about like what the game is doing with its nostalgia. But I think it's I think it's a very purposeful kind of like reckoning, not just like a fan service, in a way that I enjoyed, assuming that they're kind of getting it all out of their system. You know, if the next games continue to be like, hey, remember this, then I will think that what they did in this game was less cool. Yeah. But if this is kind of them like wrapping up a bunch of, things and just being like, this is it. We're doing all of this stuff to get it all out of our system now, and then we're moving forward.
Let's have a little fun.
Yeah. Then I made this in the deepest dive, but the Dark Souls 3 comparison of like either you think that game is like only kind of doing the cool things that its previous games did because it doesn't have any new ideas, or that it's actually using the nostalgia as almost like a weaponized storytelling device, which is what I think it's doing and what I appreciate about that game.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, more discussion for the deepest dive happening. Both chunks are up if you want to check that on YouTube or the bonus podcast feed, which you can unlock for your convenience by supporting MinnMax on Patreon at the $5 tier. But
big enemies called Chunks?
Let's say yes.
There's one guy called Chunk.
Oh, I thought Chunk had a brother. Because then
oh no, you're right. You're right. There are two Chunks.
But is he also called Chunk though?
Yeah.
Good game.
No individuality there. Just two chunks. Yeah, it is a great name.
Hey, everybody. Thanks to one of our biggest supporters, of course, I Am 8-Bit. They put on a great Day of the Devs there at GDC and so many other events, and they want you to know about their wonderful online store where you can get the Persona 5 Tactica vinyl soundtrack. It looks great. It sounds even better. It's a wonderful joint thanks to Atlas and I Am 8-Bit, so you can put that on your record player at home and dance the night away. Dancing all night, as some Persona fans would say. And they have so many other wonderful things in their wonderful online store. If you're a dork, go to their store, imatebit.com. You'll find something that you love. I absolutely guarantee it. They have so many cool physical versions of games, vinyl soundtracks, plushies, collectibles, a bunch of fun stuff. So check out imatebit and use, of course, the promo code GREENGREENS. Green Greens, no space, for 10% off of everything under $100, not including Atlas stuff. And you should help support iMateBit because they support the MinnMax community in a huge way by shipping a prize each and every week to whoever has the best question. Every week we beg people to submit questions on Patreon. If you're a Patreon supporter, even the $2 tier, you can submit a question. Then we choose our number one favorite question. That person wins a prize. This week they win the League of Legends vinyl soundtrack, the world's anthems. And Eric, I'm sorry to even mention League of Legends around you. I know it's a sensitive topic, man.
Oh, I don't care.
Okay, cool.
My good friend who used to be at Valve, Moby, was not Moby the musician, but Moby the artist. It worked on League of Legends.
That's nice.
I think we can all exist together. I forgot about League of Legends too, so throw a little bit of shade at it. Forgot it exists. Can I say one thing about Resident Evil?
Yeah, of course, man.
You can say whatever you want.
I just want to say one thing, which is I haven't played a Resident Evil since Resident Evil 4, not for any reason other than time, and I just...
You already played the best game ever made. Why play another one?
Yeah. 1 and 2 were also fun. But I think Resident Evil is in a situation right now that is unique for me. I don't think I've ever had this, where I'm much more looking forward to the next Resident Evil movie than I am to the next Resident Evil game. And not because the game I don't think will be good, but because I think the movie is going to be great.
Yeah. And 5 years from now, people would have laughed in your face, but because of the talent directing the next movie. That's the idea.
Yeah, exactly. It's Zach Kreger who did Weapons and Barbarian and has a real actual love of games, and I think Resident Evil in particular. And it sounds like they're letting him do kind of whatever he wants. So I have no idea what it's going to be, but I have a feeling it's going to be a lot more surprising than whatever Resident Evil 10 is. Again, not... is that Resident Evil? Is Requiem 9? I don't know. Whatever the next Resident Evil is.
Yeah. The Q is the 9.
We all understand the Q is the 9.
Is it Requiem or is it 9?
It's Requiem, but it is the 9th, and they kind of like highlight the Q in a way where it's like it's 9. So yeah,
that's clever.
It's clever.
A little cake to you too.
They've been doing that for a while. It's a clever way of doing.
They're so good at it.
Ben, have you listened to the Deepest Dive?
No, I'm only maybe like 3 hours into Requiem myself, and I'm digging it. But
okay.
Please go on.
To spoil a non-spoilery comment, but just something that someone wrote in with, someone was like, well, the next Resident Evil should obviously, X is 10.
Yeah.
It should be called Resident Evil Rex, and it should be the final Resident Evil Dino Crisis crossover.
Ooh, yeah. I mean, it doesn't seem that hard.
Ben wrote in with that, Jacob. I didn't have the heart to tell you.
It's like, if you're making bioweapons, it's like, they mutated everybody into dinosaurs. It's a wacky We're Back sequel. Like, there's got to be some version of that they could totally do. It would be that hard.
I have a quick question, Ben. Sorry to keep derailing your transition. With the dinosaur thing and you and the dinosaurs, is it just like you rock with Jurassic Park hardcore, or you rock with dinosaurs in general? Like, do you like Jurassic Park, or do you like dinosaurs and that's why you like Jurassic Park?
Yeah, it's a great question, Janet. Thank you. I guess, everybody loves dinosaurs growing up, and then Jurassic Park just quickly locked into like, well, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. And so I guess that's like the defining thing, and it's kind of polluted all other dinosaurs. Like, I don't know if you all have that, where like any other depiction of a T-Rex when it roars, it's like, that sounds like shit compared to the Jurassic Park roar. Everything just sounds wrong, And so like... Actually,
that's what are you still invested in the Jurassic Park?
Do you want to see my Jurassic World Rebirth tattoo, Eric? It's pretty sweet. You're gonna love it.
I classy location too for that one.
Yeah, I am fascinated by that franchise attempting to keep pushing along when clearly it shouldn't be. It's more. Here's a cool guy move, Eric. I get to be like, I like Jurassic Park, but only like academically now. Is my angle,
Again, they may be actually great movies. I haven't seen any of them.
They're not.
No,
Don't worry.
no. I mean, if you didn't like Lost
It's best
World,
to keep the mystery alive with the Jurassic Park, I think.
I could make a cut of Fallen Kingdom that I could defend, but other
And you
than that, no.
should.
I will.
You should
Thank
make
you.
that cut.
Thank you.
New show plus.
Re-editing Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. Okay, Fancy Graham writes in and says, question for Eric, but others can weigh in too. Last summer, I got a Portal tattoo. I've been thinking about getting it for over a decade, and I'm happy with how it turned out. I know I'm not the only one out there. If you search up Portal/Half-Life/Psychonauts tattoos, you'll get a ton of results. What are your thoughts on gaming tattoos, especially ones for games you've worked on, Eric?
I mean, it's obviously, I feel great about it. All the kids, go get a tattoo. Get it right on your forehead. I think it's tremendous. Also because, I think there was a time when it was like, oh, I've made this life-altering decision that I can never undo. My understanding is you can just get tattoos removed now. So if you get sick of it, you can get it removed. Oh,
Also,
I see someone with their hand up.
New tech my friend Manton discovered. He had a Paramount Plus tramp stamp he's had for a few years.
What?
Because it'd be funny, and because he is a Paramount Plus subscriber, he walked the walk.
Right.
And now with the merger, he's turning on them. He's like, I hate having this. And then a couple weeks ago, he got a new tattoo of Calvin from Calvin and Hobbes peeing on it.
And I'm going to just show this off right at the moment.
Yeah.
I also, when I was in one big influence on me was a comic book called Flaming Carrot by Bob Burden. And you can't really see it, but I've got a flaming carrot tattoo. So I actually have a tattoo of something that I loved as a child. So I'm not one to complain about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a good
I have tattoos I could and should regret, but it's like a moment in my life. It still represents to this day.
I feel like it's like, unless you want to forget the version of you that loved that thing.
Oh, weird.
You're good.
Yeah. Oh, and also I still love it. It's not it's not like I regret loving it. And again, it's not a tattoo on my neck. So it's like, I don't see it that often.
Right.
It's not, And again, you can get them removed. Am I wrong about that? I don't know if anybody chimed in on that.
I mean,
they just come right
you
up.
can.
It's still in the
come
ass.
right
It's not exactly easy, but like, I think it's better than it used to be.
I do want to know the tech, but I like Leo's strategy though of just Calvin. Like everybody who accidentally gets some Nazi imagery on their chest, like just have Calvin pissing on the Nazi imagery, and it takes care of itself.
Oh, really revolutionary.
I haven't even thought about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could totally do that.
Everyone,
And then if your
anything.
friend decides that they like Paramount Plus again, they could just get a Calvin pissing on the first Calvin.
Yeah. Double negative.
Oh,
yes.
double negative.
Right.
Yeah.
This is fucking chain of I gotta get a new tattoo. I changed my mind. Anyway, that's really good because I have a tattoo I didn't show you that I probably want to get somebody pissing.
Smart. What? I mean, is it just Companion Cube is number one that you see, Eric, from your work?
I don't actually see them that much. I assume that's an easy one to because what else would you do? Maybe the aperture symbol.
Yeah.
Other
Portals.
things.
One person, one another.
A lot of people, I think, have two portals. Guy going in, guy going out.
Something easy like that. Like you're not gonna. GLaDOS is a too complicated a structure, I think, to do it. I mean, I guess
just wait. I'm googling GLaDOS tattoo right now. I'm sure there are hundreds. Yes, there are, and they look great. I gotta tell you. Yeah. Fitted on the arm.
I would actually think more people would have TF2 tattoos because they just seem more fun. But I guess they're less simple to get a tattoo of.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I do think it's like, this is only my personal stance, so not passing judgment on anyone else. I'm always like, you should get imagery, but not like, I don't want like a realistic character. Sometimes you see picture who are like, I got like a God of War tattoo, and it's just like a big picture of Kratos. And I'm like, that's freaky. Like, I don't want like a person on it, but I have like the Shadow of the Colossus bridge on my side. And it's like, I want something that's kind of like a symbol that's like fun, but like, I think Companion Cube, Portals, that's all good. You don't want like a big picture of Shell, or maybe you do, and that's fine.
Because it would also be hard to recognize, right? I guess
how you sometimes see her halfway into another portal.
That's something.
Anyway, all for it. I think it's great. Did this person say they had a portal tattoo? I guess they must have.
I think
right?
they're just wondering. Oh no, yeah, sorry, they did. Yeah, last summer I got a portal tattoo. Yeah, unclear what it is, so we'll see. Maybe it's just a potato. William
Ben
Hiddle,
famously doesn't want anybody to get a MinnMax tattoo.
it'd be awful.
Why is that?
Just
Why?
because I'm not saying it's
Someone
gonna
has
happen.
one, right?
But no one has. The people have sent in like
Ben wants the space
Photoshops
to get
and stuff.
canceled and have you not have to put Calvin pissing on the MinnMax tattoo.
It just sucks. For like a fictional character, it's different. But genuinely, what if it's just like, I'm not saying this is happening, but what if it's turned out like I have my basement's filled with corpses? Like you don't know what could happen to me in the future, and to like have something connected to me, like
That's so funny. That's literally so. Your thing is that you're to have some space to get canceled.
I think
in the
it's
future,
very
Yes!
reasonable.
not have to worry about anybody.
The track record of gaming outlets, I
Yes!
don't think you want any of them tattooed on you.
I mean, it's not like they're
But
all.
you guys solved that problem. I don't know who. I think maybe Jacob did it with the Calvin.
Yeah, Leo.
I mean, that is actually
Yeah,
great.
and
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
And
Whichever way
He
you
probably
lean
has a
for,
MinnMax
go with
tattoo
that
though in the
too.
world. I'm guessing.
No one can. And if they
It's so
do,
simple too because it's just the arrows.
yeah, get it removed. Get it removed. What if we change our logo next year? Like, I truly have no idea. Don't do it.
But then you have the OG one. Like
Like
again,
the
I'm
rest
not-
of the Konami code around it.
yeah. There's so many solutions.
Hey.
Yeah. I don't know. Someone has it.
Don't do it.
Just so you know.
Don't get it.
I'm
Leo,
sorry.
Leo,
It's already done. It's too late.
could you Google this for me, just because it'll take a while, not because I don't want to see it. But do you think anybody has like the Calvin pissing tattoo, but it's on their genitals so that Calvin's peeing when they're peeing? Do you think that's a thing anybody on Earth has done?
So,
Calvin is
so
peeing
their
on their
penis
dick
becomes
while they're peeing? Where would it be?
No,
peeing?
it'd be like lined up perfectly, so it'd be like a little Calvin. I don't want to get too graphic, but you know what I mean? Like,
Whoa. I'm seeing one that's Calvin peeing on upside
Okay,
down
you know how
mirrored
sometimes-
Calvin, so it's like Ouroboros, but
interjection.
his stream's connecting. That's so cool.
Every now and then people say, like, what would Pew Pew Bang be like if it was boys? This is what it would be like, and it's hell. Get me out of here. I don't belong in here.
Yeah, you're okay. Sorry.
I don't belong here.
Okay,
Get me out of here.
cleanse the system. Okay, William Hiddle writes in to say, if I were to visit Minnesota during a road trip, where should I stay in Minnesota? What should I eat? What places should I visit? Are there any specific places you'd recommend? Great question. Erik Wolpaw, I am so curious about this because this is you.
Here we go.
I feel like I unearthed a monster in sending you an email saying like, "Hey, we're based out of Minnesota," because you're like, "Boy, do I have a lot of thoughts about Minnesota."
Yeah, I love Minnesota. So I'm going to briefly just go through this so you know what's happening. My wife's people are all from northern Minnesota. Her mom's from Ball Club, and she's got family in Bemidji. Still, we go visit them, but Indian Health Service put her through nursing school, and she owed a service contract, and so we decided to fulfill it by moving to Duluth, which is in Minnesota.
Oh yeah.
Well, partly because it was close to her family, and she had cousins that were working also at this clinic in Duluth. And so, yeah, it was one of the most idyllic periods of my life. This was prior to leaving for Double Fine. We were living in, and I didn't think I was going to work in the game industry. And so we were just making plans that we would either live in Duluth or she'd go work out on a res somewhere in a clinic, and I would take care of the kids or do whatever. I'm relatively unemployable. So anyway, we eventually went to San Francisco. We came back not to Duluth, unfortunately, but to St. Paul, which is where she started graduate school at U of M. So when I got the job at Valve, we were living in St. Paul. And so, yeah, we have a huge connection to Minnesota. We're going back to Duluth for Thanksgiving this year.
That's so sweet.
But so to answer the question, I would go to Duluth. I don't know how many people visit Duluth versus the cities or something.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's small. It's got the feel of a small town, but because it's kind of the central location for a lot of small towns around it, it's got a lot of infrastructure for not being big. Like if you go 5 minutes outside Duluth, you're in the wilderness. And then from there, I would say go north on Highway 61 to Tofte, which is just before Grand Marais. Like you're going towards Thunder Bay in Canada. There's a place called Carlton Peak, which is a nice but not too difficult hike up to a peak where the views are unbelievable. It's great. And then I'm just gonna make one more recommendation. Which have you guys been to Duluth? Do you know Duluth at all? So there's Minnesota Point, which is like a peninsula sticking out into Lake Superior. It's got houses on it. It's pretty built up. If you go across the bridge to Superior, which my wife worked in Duluth, but we actually lived in Superior because it was cheaper. Superior's Wisconsin, but it may as well be Minnesota. But so Minnesota Point is like this coming off of Minnesota. There's a matching Wisconsin point that they almost touch tips. Here, there's a little piece going between them. And Wisconsin Point is not built up at all and is often, again, I haven't been there in 8 years maybe, but it was empty. It would be this 2 mile stretch of beach that would almost always be completely empty. It's incredible. So I would stop by Wisconsin Point, Duluth, Carlton Peak, Wisconsin Point, eat at Fitker's.
Yeah, I think I told you in an email.
And
my sister she worked at Fitker's for 20 years, and she just left a couple of years ago. But like Fitker's is a real mainstay for us. Yeah.
Does she still live in Duluth?
No, she moved down to like central Minnesota and stuff. But we still go up there a fair bit. And like, yeah, I mean, Superior, like Anchor, going for a burger there is always like, oh, it's always so good and so cheap. And like, we just, had an Airbnb there in the fall. And it's like, why don't we come to Duluth several times a year? It is like, just in terms of a city in Minnesota that just has a very distinct vibe. It's just, you feel that town when you're in there more than I think any other city in Minnesota. It's so magical.
Yeah, and easy enough to fit in one night in Duluth or a day trip to Duluth and a bigger stay in the Twin Cities or something too. Definitely worth doing that.
Yeah, for
got
sure.
a Radisson with a rotating restaurant on top.
Come on, it's got everything you need. But yeah. Eric, it always made me laugh because I didn't go on the cover story trip, but back at Game Informer, I think it was like Ben Reeves and Dan Reichert, they said that on the Portal 2 cover story, you guys all went out to eat. And Dan Reichert would just tell me legends that you spent a majority of the dinner trying to convince everybody else from Valve to move Valve's headquarters to Duluth, Minnesota. Because it's like, we would live like kings, you idiots. We would be gods among men.
That was for the first few years I was at Valve. I was like, we would change the economy of Duluth. Our lives would only get better. Why are we here in the most expensive, one of the top 5 expensive cities in the U.S. when we don't have to be?
Yeah.
I never got a good answer. I was like, let's fucking move. Let's all move. Nobody, I think it's because I was older than everybody, but a lot of the people there were very young and they liked, I don't know what they liked. They liked something about Seattle.
Yeah.
So there was something that appealed to them. Who knows?
But
most of them were transplants. They weren't like native Seattlers. So let's transplant to someplace as beautiful and much cheaper.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. I mean, Gabe eventually left, and then he just went to New Zealand instead of Duluth. He stabbed Duluth in the back, I consider it.
Yeah, he didn't. I mean, can you imagine Valve transplanting to Duluth and utterly changing the local economy?
Yes.
I think for the better.
It'd be incredible. Yeah. You can still do it, man. Do you consider yourself, I know you're not in the office as much as most people, but like, you're Valve royalty at this point, right? Do you feel that? Like when you walk in, or people are like, hey, listen to what Eric has to say?
I don't know about that. But I do feel it's interesting because I go back every once in a while. I went back a few months ago and I brought my son because when he was young, he'd come to Valve all the time, but he didn't appreciate it. Now that he's 15, it's like, he's like, Dad, I would really like to go see, Valve as a, because it's a big part of his life.
Yeah.
Steam and games and whatever. And but the thing is, a lot of people. There's a lot of people I don't know, so it feels a little bit alien now going back. But there's still enough people there that it's like, I know a lot of people, but it's not like the old days where I really knew everybody. And it's not even like it's that, but you go at lunch and you're just like, I don't know who a lot of these people are.
Yeah.
And so anyway, it's been last November was 20 years that I worked at Valve, which is crazy to me. But anyway, it's the greatest place to work. It's like anything. It's an interesting human insight is that you can have the greatest job at the greatest place and people still find a way to complain about it. Like people just like complaining about work. it is objectively such a good place to work. And yet, everybody's bitching all the time. I'm not understanding.
I get it. So, I mean, what is your life like now? Are you working full time on stuff? Are you jumping in and be like, hey, I'll help out with some Dota writing. I'll help out with this here and there. Like, what?
Yeah, I help. So I kind of piggyback on Jay Pinkerton, my writing partner. So if whatever he's working on, I'll help him with. Again, not a Valve major product. We poke around at little things that seem interesting to us, like the AI stuff.
Yeah.
They're happy to just let me do. I guess the one thing that I would say is, unlike a lot of the contractors, they kind of I'm left to my own recognizance to some extent. I'm not that directed, but that's basically what I do. And I work. The last time I was really working full time as a contractor was during Alex's development.
Right.
And since then, it's been it varies from week to week or what's getting worked on. It's anywhere from half time to maybe some weeks a little bit more than that. I look for it. It's not super stressful at this point, which is nice.
It's a weird thing to say to you, but I think the way that I feel about you, sir, is the way a lot of people feel about Valve, which is just like, hey, I'm glad you're not 20, you're not burning out anymore, everyone's taking care of themselves. That said, like, some of the most talented people in game development are in there, and like, I don't want them to be lit on fire, but I want the heat on them a little bit. I want you guys to be sweating just a little bit and getting stuff out the door. You know what I mean? So how do you balance that from your point of view?
I mean, from my point of view, I'm kind of just doing what I'm told. And we do, like Jay and I do get things out that, not massive things, but we do manage to ship things. We closed out the TF comics after 7 years. We ship stuff on Dota fairly frequently lately. It's a weird thing from the outside. It looks like nothing's being done, but it's a hive of furious activity. Like, people are doing things. It's just like they're pretty particular about what goes out the door in a lot of cases. And they have the luxury of kind of taking their time to work on whatever it is they're working on. I think we burned ourselves. There was this period where we shipped, episode 1, the Orange Box, Left 4 Dead 1 and 2, Portal 2, Dota, probably something I'm forgetting about, like literally all within like, I want to say it was like 6 years or something. It was a lot of stuff. And then it's been, less stuff since then. But, it's not a big company. I don't know exactly how many people are there now, but it's, I remember we used to be across from the Expedia building 15 years ago, and there was like 3,000 people working at Expedia somehow. Like, I don't know what they were doing. There's 300 people, maybe, more or less.
Yeah.
And people got to work on Steam, and games just take longer now. Like, I know you guys, because of AI, you guys won't let us use it to ship these things. But it's. I would like to light a fire too, but I'm also happy that everybody's. People are not. The kind of crazy schedule is a real young man's game, without young person's game, without family.
And I know it's your least favorite topic, probably up there with Half-Life 3, but I am curious, like, I remember you were on a podcast years ago, and at a certain point, my memory is you just grabbed the microphone and started screaming, Gabe, if you're listening, I want to make Portal 3 right now. Gabe, please listen, I want to make Portal 3. Yeah. So you shout that into a podcast, it's picked up for news stories all over the world. Is there one conversation? Is there any, like, thank you for bringing that to our attention, let's move things ahead? And not asking is Portal 3 happening, but just like, what impact does that have?
It doesn't. It's mostly a joke. Although at this point, I'm not sure I even have it in me to do the kind of work that would be required. But I'm sure someday somebody will make it. But again, it's a small company, and there's an opportunity cost to doing anything. Like, it's not like they're going to staff up to do this project. Trying to do one thing, just by its nature, removes people from doing something else. So, whatever it is everybody's working on, you don't want to. They're your friends, they're your coworkers. You want to be responsible. You don't. This sounds very corporate, but you just don't want to. At a human level, you don't want to cause a lot of disruption by like being like, guys, I'm going to poach all these people to go try and do this thing. So, and they do let us. I will say, as much as I have in the past complained about Portal 3, every time there's been new hardware, they let us grab some people and do these smaller aperture things, which actually, from a production standpoint, I actually enjoy more than the 5-year or whatever development cycle, like Hand Lab,
Aperture Desk Job, yeah.
The other ones, Desk Job. Like, those are fun. Those are fun to work on, and I think they're relatively, I mean, they're not giant content drops like a game is, but I think they're fun for people, and they're all free, so, you know.
It's interesting. It's kind of like the episode model for Portal now.
Yes, except even less pressure than that, because they typically are designed to serve some other purpose, right? Like other than just existing for the sake of existing.
Right.
Are you? Anyway, I'm fully satisfied with my life at Valve and outside, so it's good.
Yeah, that's sweet. And you're spending a lot of time on the farm in West Virginia.
And a fair amount. We're leaving tomorrow for a few days for the farm in West Virginia, and I got big plans with the neighbor to take all the trees that have been blown down over the winter and push them into a ditch or cut them up or something. I wish you guys could say a lot of manly stuff is going to happen. There's going to be a lot of chainsawing, a lot of tractor operating. It's going to be fun.
Nice. This is just a pew pew bang episode at this point, Janet. We can move on.
Yeah. But like pew pew bang in the upside down, the bad place.
Deem Matiku writes in, they say, what advancement in gaming history do you think has been the most revolutionary? Rumble features, digital libraries, headsets? That's interesting. Say, honestly, for me, it's wireless controllers. I think we take for granted how convenient it is until you occasionally have to play with the charging cable, and it feels terrible. In general, advancement in gaming history, what do you think is standing up above the rest?
I mean, I was going to say, like, the jump to 3D or, like,
that's what I thought,
the ability to save games. Yeah. But now I think it's like if you could take a Resident Evil character and like smudge a whole bunch of kind of porny looking makeup on their face. That's got to be number one.
Okay, there you go, Deem. Porny Resident Evil characters. The DLSS 5 thing that has blown up the internet. I've been thinking about this a lot, and it's like, it's catching on wildfire for like perfect storm of ingredients, and one of them is just like the most memeable, easy thing ever as well. Of like, all right, we're going to show the before and after, and every character, every joke you can squeeze in there to show what it would look like if a character was quote unquote improved. So if you've missed this, NVIDIA was showing it at GDC, and Digital Foundry kind of debuted, as far as I could tell, this look at DLSS 5 using AI to previously like fill in the frames like this, but in this case with DLSS 5, the idea is it's kind of overhauling the look of the game in a really drastic way. And they showed a lot from Starfield. They showed some from Hogwarts Legacy. They showed Leon looking quote unquote better, more realistic, but their version of Grace, that was a close up. The way that Digital Foundry put it is they said it didn't change the geometry. It's just affecting the lighting. But you look at it, it's like, no, the geometry is changing. And then like the head of NVIDIA said like, yeah, it's changing the geometry. Like it is clearly changing the way her lips look and everything here.
Yeah, I mean, it's like one of the things is unfortunately deeply embarrassing for Digital Foundry, who is an outlet who has made themselves known by being able to detect like micro variations in frame rates in and understand why like frustum culling is causing this, to look at two fundamentally different human faces and be like, wow, look at what the power of shadows can do.
I hear that. So they a couple things. Leave Digital Foundry alone. They posted a video and they're like,
no.
They're like, in their video, they're like, hey, like I understand people are angry at Grace from Resident Evil being quote unquote yassified, but like sending our team death threats. Like the internet is out of fucking control.
Right,
Obviously,
that's not what I'm doing.
I understand
We can
that.
still call their behavior embarrassing.
I understand that, and
I think they should die.
okay. They made the point of like, clearly we should have taken more time to dissect. Like, we're excited about this technology, and we kind of rushed to excitement to put the video out when like we should have stopped and thought about it a little bit more. So it's that odd situation. Erik, have you seen this at all?
I saw a video came through my YouTube feed, but I haven't looked at it.
Okay.
I feel like, is this NVIDIA?
Yeah.
So I feel like they did this, it must be a year or more ago, where they had something about AI characters, where they released a video that felt similar to me in the sense that this is not showcasing this. Even if this technology is good, this is a weird showcase for it because it's not very good. So I don't know. Yeah, maybe I think that's a nice way to put it, and that may be true. It's like, we're just so thrilled with this that we cannot wait to show you. Oh, is this it?
Yeah, I sent they on Digital Foundry, they let you do like side by side and like slider, and like I think in the slider when you slide like one half over the other, it's like really clear how much geometrically Grace's face changed, which I'm sure is also true for like Leon and other characters they've shown this example with. But I pulled the Grace one because it's
It is
I
the
think
lightning
it's
one.
like the conversation piece of the comparison.
It's important to kind of like talk about like what this technology is actually doing, because like as far as I understand, and like I'm not a NVIDIA engineer, I'm not like a whatever, but like this is not actually, it is not adjusting the geometry of the game because it doesn't have access to the game. This is like, in calling it a filter, it is doing the kind of thing that AI imagery often does, which is like take something and try and make it look more like the thing it thinks it's supposed to look like.
Yes.
You know, and so it's like it's not actually interacting with the programming of the game. It is just kind of looking at the final image that is produced. And I think it's notable that in all these demonstrations, they had characters basically looking dead at the camera and not moving that much, which is when you generate like a character's face in AI and they're all just kind of standing there and doing that little sway, you know, like they did not show a character look at the camera, quickly turn around and look at it again, because it might give you a different face, you know, if it's at like a slightly different angle.
And so Digital Foundry talked about that a little bit. Like they were impressed by how it kept up as much as it did, but obviously it's still early tech and everything like that. Yeah.
So this is completely like post-processing. It's just looking at the image and doing it. So this is, I mean, most of the work has been done for them. These are very high quality images. Like, what happens if you run it on like Tekken 2 or something?
That's
like,
a good question. Yeah, I mean, it's no Tekken 2, but like Starfield is the interesting example, right? Of like kind of rougher looking NPCs. And it's like that. It's like, it's less of like the yassification. It's like, okay, they're just trying to make it look slightly more realistic. And like, it is an interesting discussion. It's like, you know, Digital Foundry in their Q&A they posted on Wednesday, they did say, like, you know, NVIDIA said like they were working with Capcom. It's not like they just said, yoink, and now let's put out a pretty version of Grace. Let's put her out there. But like, I'm curious to see like if the art lead from Capcom was like, what the hell is this? Like,
the art leads from several of the games have said, we did not know. Like they're working with the CEOs of the companies.
Right.
And it's a discussion about, is the artistic intent of the game being compromised? And the CEOs aren't literally they own the IP or whatever, but like they did not decide what Grace looked like in the first place.
As far as I know, it's just Hogwarts Legacy and Starfield and this. Have art leads from those projects said something about it? I've missed that.
Yes, there was a Windows Central article, let me find this, that was saying people said they found out at the same time. Developers at Capcom told Insider Gaming they were shocked at the publisher's involvement. According to the report, the company has historically been anti-AI, and some developers fear DLSS 5 could shift its stance on generative AI and its use in future games.
Yeah, interesting.
I guess I don't understand what the point of because she seems fine. Like, if in a vacuum, you just showed me both of them, they're just like, yeah, they both look like video game characters of about the same quality.
Just different characters.
Why? Yeah, just why?
Great question. Requiem is one of the most beautiful games ever made, as it is.
Right.
For sure.
Right. I think, no, that is a fair question. If you just want a pass to quote unquote make your characters look more realistic in whatever game. I guess that's NVIDIA's pitch, even if it seems like everyone's like, no thanks, we're fine. The background.
Well, that's the thing is that it's everybody who is posting online about it. It's like 100% of people I've seen post about this say, look how stupid this looks. It objectively looks terrible, and it does. But it's like people in the more general sense still have motion smoothing on their TVs. You know, it's just like whatever is presented to them, people don't overthink it, or don't and shouldn't need to have the skill set and knowledge base to even know what's going on here. So it's hard to not just go like, you know, any flow chart of thought about it just ends up at like, yeah, it's going to happen, and most people will use it without even realizing, and art is going to look worse, and it's not going to be what the artist made, and that just sucks.
Yeah, I mean, at present, in order to use it, they would need two 5090s, so that will not be most people, but in the future, it might be more attainable.
Right.
I still don't get, like, the left half looks about as realistic as the right half to me. Neither one looks more realistic to me. I'm not sure what they're talking about.
Yeah, like it kind of, well, to me, it kind of looks like, specifically Grace, but, you know, it's true for the other characters too, like some of the Starfield NPCs. It kind of this is sort of what it is, because it is an AI tool, like taking, okay, you made a person, let me make what I think a person would look like if they were a person, but you're doing it on a person, which I think is also what makes it almost feel like, you know, when you apply a filter to a filter, it's like twice removed and it just starts to really like kind of deteriorate. It feels like, have you guys ever seen those, it's usually fan art that does it, although I guess now it could be AI, but fan art where it's like, here's what Pikachu would look like if he was a person. And then they draw a guy that has like Pikachu energy. It feels like this is what Grace would look like if she was a human woman, but Grace is a human woman. So now it's like, it just looks like it's a copy of a copy.
No, what do you mean
that
a
I think
woman,
is kind of,
like porn star? Don't you understand, Janet?
Like, you know, and it's just, so it ends up being kind of strange, and it has the sort of, like the lighting work and the kind of like texture work that you do usually get from like, I forget what that Facetune. Like they do end up kind of looking a little Facetuned, which ends up looking, while it looks like what someone would think a person looks like, which makes sense because it's, you know, AI doing it. So it is definitely, a strange thing, even though it is kind of trying to up the fidelity of certain games, like, you know, Starfield character models or whatever. But because they all also end up looking the same, I think it kind of weirdly flattens like art direction across games in a way that feels like very strange as well.
Yeah. And a thing that I've been thinking about, and it's, you know, this is not exclusive to this at all, but it's like when you think about like how your iPhone takes a picture of, you know, of a human subject, it will often take pictures that are kind of photographically impossible. Like a person is like silhouetted by a big light-filled window, but their face will still be like perfectly lit, and it's because like your phone is like applying a lot of post-processing features to you, because it kind of knows what you want a good selfie to look like, or it is deciding for you what you want a good selfie to look like. And a lot of the comparisons that they showed here are actually kind of doing similar things. Of like, there's a character in Starfield who's wearing a baseball cap, and in the original game, the baseball cap is kind of casting a shadow on his face. Yeah. And then in the DLSS 5 one, it's not casting a shadow on his face, because if you were taking a picture of someone, maybe you wouldn't want a big shadow over their face. But it's kind of a weird, like, you know, the way that we capture reality always changes the way we perceive reality. But this is a weird kind of like, they're deciding what it should look like for you in a way that, again, all art does. Video games are created worlds, but it's like, it is this and this AI is a black box. You kind of don't know what influences it's pulling from. It is just this kind of like averaged out version of what we think a human face should be lit like, that it is then putting on top of all of these existing assets in ways that can look really kind of anachronistic and out of place with the overall art design of the game.
I mean, if I was going to steelman the counter argument, it'd be that the lighting models in many games are, especially, they're not realistic either. They're, you know, they're approximation lighting as well. Having said, I mean, again, I keep You guys keep forcing me to defend AI. But I roll here. At least in this picture that you just posted, I see a difference. I mean, I see a very marked difference between the two. I don't really subjectively. I mean, they're both pictures of this lady. I don't even know what game. What game is this?
It was a Requiem.
That's a
Requiem.
Starfield screenshot.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
that one's okay. Yeah.
Discussion about AI always feels more philosophical and spiritual than it lets on. Like at the deep layer, it's like the best art in my life that I've connected with the most has been the most out there and the most strange, the most reaching out to specifically connect with me. And like Jacob said, with the word average, I think is so important. It pulls from the average of what it expects this to be. And that to me is just so far off from art.
Yeah.
You know, it just,
Yeah, I mean, there is the worry that it's just going to be this giant blandifying machine.
Right. And the idea of in the future, you know, there's a whole layer, obviously, of misogyny, which I think is a reason why this is a big lightning rod as well. But like in the future, if it's like, oh, everyone complaining that Aloy wasn't hot enough in Horizon, well, now when I play it on PC, if I can turn something on to make her look gorgeous, like it just feels horrifying.
This literally, part of why it's so easy to make fun of is the Requiem screenshot they showed literally looks one of those like let fans design your characters before and after. It's hot Aloy. You know?
smaller nose, bigger, wetter lips.
Right.
Big anime eyes.
Anyways, Medicue, the answer is autosaves, I think, for what has been the most revolutionary in gaming history.
I do enjoy an autosave for sure.
When you go back and play retro games, it's like, is that clear dividing line between, you know, kind of.
I think it's the passcode saves.
Okay.
When you had when it said, here's the passcode, write this down.
Right. That makes sense, yeah.
Those were halfway step. That's what I'm surprised Mewgenics doesn't. That's not their save system.
It's intentional.
They give a 30-digit alphanumeric code that you have to type back in.
Aging Poorly writes in to say, question for Eric and everybody, but mostly Eric. Which game do you think has sneaky good writing? I'm talking deep cuts. We all know Disco Elysium has good writing, but what's one that surprised you in a good way for the writing quality?
We know that. I'm kidding. I was just one of my other hot takes. No, it's not actually. I think it is good. I mean, there's ones that people don't seem to recognize, even though they do. I think Yakuza 0 is one of the few games that was very story dense that I did not skip any of the story. I normally can't button through the story fast enough. But loved Yakuza 0. This is a little bit of a cheat, but there's a game from like 8-9 years ago called No Time to Explain that has the greatest, most concise opening 10 seconds of their game that just tells you everything you need to know, and it's hilarious, and it's over in about 6 seconds. I said 10 seconds, but maybe it's more like 6 seconds. You can just Google it's the very first thing that happens in the game. You don't have to Google it now. I've always thought it's the greatest opening for a video game ever. It's hilarious, and it sets up a premise, and then you're off. What do you guys think?
It came up earlier, but my answer for this was Into the Breach, which I think has like really kind of interesting, like there are a bunch of different characters that you can play as in that game, and they all have different just little like barks and call outs. Essentially, there's no voice acting, but like, you know, you'll get little speech bubbles, and there are no cutscenes. It doesn't like interrupt the flow of gameplay at all, but like you come out of those runs being like, I know what the character's personality is, in a way that I think is really like clever and sneaky good, as the question asked.
Why can't I not remember the guy who wrote it? He's a guy that's been working forever that I've never met somehow. I've never run into ever, which is rare. What's his name? He wrote one of the old.
It's Chris Avallone.
It's Chris Avallone wrote that game. I've never met the guy. There is one other game that I bring up sometimes, which is Driver San Francisco.
Hell yes, that
was writing. But not only writing for games is hard, but they made it even more difficult because you can't get out of the car in this game.
Right.
It's just you in a car the entire time. and it's a really good story.
Yeah, but it's not just you in a car; it's you in a coma, experiencing driving in a car. So it is a little bit of a cheat there.
You're in a coma the whole time, but it's well written. It's good, and it's a fun game too. But I don't think it got as much credit for its writing as it probably deserved.
I think you're right. It's interesting. I think for a lot of people answering this question, it's like, I don't know, what was the funniest game or what was the most emotional game? But I like, from your experience lens, it's like efficiency. Like which games are getting you in there and making the most out of what's going on there, not because this sentence was really funny or well constructed. It's like, no, just hitting the road running. That's what's important here.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's because you're writing in the margins. You don't necessarily want to get in the way of the game, or at least when I'm playing a game, I don't want it to get in the way of the game. Having said that, there's plenty of yakking in the Portal games, so I'm not, living by my own prescription necessarily. But, I think you gotta let the game stand out, and then you are there in service of the game.
Where do you stand on the From Software stuff on the writing side?
Love it.
That's as efficient as they can get.
I mean, I don't necessarily love I have played the crap out of every single From Soft Souls game, and I couldn't tell you the story in any of them. And I couldn't be happier that I couldn't tell you the story in any of them. I think it's very, and but clearly there are people that care a lot, and they bury all sorts of stuff in the item. It's a nice way to do it.
Yeah.
Neo 3 on the other hand is like story all the time, but you can skip it all, so it really doesn't matter.
Right.
But I couldn't tell you what was happening other than mechanically in any of the FromSoft games, but loved all of them.
What's your bone to pick with Duskbloods, by the way?
Oh, Duskbloods. Why? I'll believe it when I see it. This is not what I want from FromSoft. Even though I was not nearly as down on the announcement of Night Rain as I thought. Night Rain sounded great, and it turned out to be super fun. My son and I played the crap out of Night Rain. Dustblood's just also it's on the Switch too, right?
Yep.
Which I don't have.
Okay.
So that's gonna be a problem. So maybe that's my problem. It could turn out to be tremendous. What is it, like a hero shooter?
No, I don't think it's to that level. We're still kind of confused about exactly the level of multiplayer that they're focused on for this thing. I want to learn more for sure, but they say it's more multiplayer focused than previous stuff.
Oh, so, okay, I took away that it's like a hero shooter. If it's some sort of hybrid with a bunch of single-player PvE content, then I may be all on board with this.
I mean, I believe they said PvPvE, which right. I'm like, is it an extraction from soft game?
Weird.
It's hard. It is hard to know what that thing's going to be.
I mean, I get it's a lot of work to make Elden Ring 2. I would just like to now have Elden Ring 2.
You understand how ripe it is for you to say that, Erik Wolpaw, writer of Portal 1 and 2. Anyways, hey, Jason writes in, they say, around the launch of Marathon, Bungie asked outlets to delay full reviews until the release of their planned endgame content. Do you think that's fair? Is it harmful to review outlets and customers to say that? So
I think this is... Did you want to add context, Ben?
I think context is helpful. I get that headline is easy to debate. I think their wording is important. So here was the actual email sent out along with Marathon review codes. They said, Marathon launches on March 5th. You can publish content as you play the game. However, we ask you to hold your full review and impressions until you play Cryo Archive, Marathon's pinnacle endgame zone and experience, which will be unlocked in the second half of March. To be clear, this isn't a mandate, but a request/suggestion is the way they phrase it.
Yeah, I'm kind of like, I think that's fine.
I'm in the same
camp. Mean, it's like, I think that like the Resident Evil Requiem embargo was much more damaging to the ability to talk critically about that game, because that was we're giving you the game early. You are not allowed to talk about things past this point. As we have all played the game, we kind of all agree that it goes downhill after a certain point.
Right.
A genius embargo limitation that can conveniently be like, oh, don't want to spoil it, which I do think is genuine, but it is a little funny that the worst part of the game cannot be discussed in the review.
I think for Marathon to be like this is not binding in any way, but we want you to know that like the game is like the continuing evolution of the game is going to go here, and you might want to try that before you give your final thoughts. You know, that's reasonable. It's not a mandate. They're not going to not send you the next Bungie game because you published this early, which is what would happen with Capcom if you like, you know, spoiled the thing you're not supposed to spoil in Requiem.
Yeah, I agree with Jacob. I think it's fine. And not to like be full publisher pilled, because I do think, you know, obviously like press versus you want to, you know, you have one goal and they have another goal, just generally speaking. But I think it's actually kind of like a little bit useful to at least just give the context too of what's ahead. The number one thing I always want as a reviewer of a game, and the thing that I almost never get, is context on how much game there is to play, to kind of, you know, plan out pacing, content, flow of it. You know, God forbid if you have a multi-step process in a review with an editor and a game capture and a video editor, like knowing that kind of stuff is like crucial to making a good content plan and trying to make one that's as least crunchy as it can be. So I think that makes sense, and it's better. Like I'd rather that than they say, here's the code, and then they randomly drop additional content that does kind of change it, and then you as like the editorial team have to kind of figure it out. Like this is a nice, hey, they've given us a sense of this is when they feel the game is complete. It's also very easy to just, you know, for games like this, just do a review in progress if you want to kind of have your cake and eat it too. I feel like the review in progress has definitely built in popularity and out of necessity for games that are ongoing, games that have like multiple content drops, games that are in early access, or even just if you don't want to crunch to hit a deadline, but you want to be able to kind of have something for your readers at embargo. Like, I think that's a great use case for the review in progress.
Yeah. And to be clear, I'm not saying you need to stay silent until this thing drops or whatever. Like, by all means, you played the game, tell your community, hey, I think you should buy this or shouldn't, if that's the kind of content you're creating and stuff. But I do think it is helpful to know, to not have your quote unquote review be outdated immediately. If you're like, there's no end game. It's like, and the fact that they're like, it's a suggestion and a request, and you can be like, no, thank you. Like, I don't see the harm in having that little line in there, you know?
Yeah.
Is Marathon a live service game?
Yeah, it's an extraction shooter, yeah.
So it's never going to be finished anyway. I guess what...
Right.
And that's why I'm glad I don't review live service games.
There's a key component that's missing. Right, so I think, it's like, please just do initial thoughts, because you may... you know, we're going to have this major content drop soon. But I guess that's always going to be the case for a live service game. So I don't know. I guess they must have known they were I hope they knew they were setting themselves up for a backlash by even saying that. So,
but it's like, it's so much less than so many other video game embargoes. You know, like you get so many that are like, don't mention this character, don't talk about this mechanic. You know, and that's just kind of taken for granted.
But I mean, this is the weird thing of like, you couldn't even play the game fully until March 5th when it's actually out, compared to like that type of review where it's like a story-based thing and your review is going to drop before the game's even out, yada, yada, yada.
And you can always update the day after like once it hits street date, you can do whatever you want as well, which is why you've seen like, I forgot what outlet it was that held their Last of Us 2 review, because they're like, we don't agree to the embargo, so we're not posting our review until the street date of the game.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a, you know, in wrestling with kind of like what are we supposed to do with reviews now, and kind of a changing publisher landscape and whatever. I think having like a day and date multiplayer review of anything seems impossible. I always thought it was weird in like the Call of Duty reviews when they would talk about like what the multiplayer was doing when the game had been only playable by like, you know, 6 people, you know, being like, I wouldn't have any picture of what the multiplayer was like, kind of only playing with my colleagues who were also playing this for review.
Yeah. Totally. Eric, what's the last game you reviewed? You reviewed games at GameSpot for a while, right?
Oh, Computer Gaming World, GameSpot, CGM. Actually, I'm good friends with Jeff Keighley for a long time, because he got me a job back in the day writing reviews for Entertainment Weekly, which paid a lot at the time, for like these 200-word reviews that were I'd submit them, and the editor would change literally every word, and I'd be like, oh boy, yeah, I'm losing this job, and be like, I'm sorry that I didn't give you what you wanted. No, it's great. And he would change every single word. So I was doing that all the way up until I think I got the job. Valve, maybe. Anyway, Jeff hooked me up when I was needed the money, so that was good. I don't know. I think maybe I don't know what the last game. I might have been World of Warcraft. It was right as we were starting Valve was the last thing I did. It would have been. It probably got published. Actually, probably got published after I was already working at Valve. Because it was print.
Yeah.
I think it might have been World of Warcraft.
That's funny. Talk about a review that I'm sure is aged perfectly. Still extremely relevant for how it's going.
Yeah. Should have waited. Should have waited till they released
Midnights, whatever their expansion is now.
Yeah.
Pretty sure I liked it.
Good. Good call. Am I Nuts writes in. They say, howdy y'all. This might be a dumb question, but I haven't really heard it come up yet. Now that the new Xbox with Project Helix is essentially a PC and it allows other storefronts on it, how does Xbox make money? I thought most console profits came from taking a cut of game sales in their walled garden, where prices are generally higher than on PC and subscriptions to online services. But if the new Xbox allows cheaper purchases from Steam and the Epic Games Store, why would someone buy from the Xbox Store? Now the only revenue is from the sale of the hardware, which I thought is generally a loss leader anyway? Am I missing something? Great questions.
Am I nuts?
Am I nuts, they say? Yeah.
I think they don't know how they're going to make money. So how would I?
Yeah, this is a little behind the scenes. You posted these questions for people to put thumbs up, and I saw somebody had thumbs upped it, so I thumbs upped it because I was curious to hear what this person had to say.
I thumbs up. I don't have the answer.
Welcome to every week. But yeah, my only thought here is, gosh, it's such a mess with like the Xbox strategy, and it's constantly like oscillating into different things. Like my only thought is that like, well, you can still like having an extra storefront doesn't mean you don't have your storefront. And I keep having this feeling that like Xbox, and this is interesting because this is actually like a really old strategy in a way, but like a modernized take on it. And the old strategy I'm referring to is the idea of like, how do we sneak gaming consoles into people's homes? And back in the day, it was like, we made it a DVD player. And now, hey, let's take the PS3, it's a DVD player. And that was kind of the way to do it. Obviously, we've like, that's been way less relevant as digital media has been like, and streaming is like way more of a thing. Like people don't even they have a non-disc drive PS5. So obviously that has moved away a lot. But it feels like this is maybe like Xbox/Microsoft's take on that, where they're like, well, if you want like a way to game, maybe we can get something that is presumably more affordable than a PC, but you'd have access to it. We already, and just kind of do it that way. That would be like my only guess. But then it's also weird because they just moved away from the everything is an Xbox thing. So I don't know.
I mean, it's like my closest analog to this is if you sign up for someone's Patreon through the Apple App Store, it costs more than if you sign up for their Patreon on like a browser, because Apple is taking a cut of all app purchases, which is why PSA, never sign up for any Patreon through the app, always do it through the browser, because you're paying that money and it doesn't go to the people who are, it doesn't go to MinnMax, it doesn't go to me. I like the clumsiest version, but kind of the only thing that I can imagine is they just put a like 20% tax on if you buy your Steam game on the Xbox, then it just costs more, because otherwise
they couldn't do that.
I mean, I'm mad at the idea.
I don't know the answer to this question.
But they could still get like Xbox, like in the Xbox store, like Xbox storefront would still exist on this machine.
Yeah.
So it's not like, but I guess like if it's on
unless
Steam,
they make it really
Steam
hard
version?
to use Steam, I don't understand
why. It's out right now. It's the Rogue Ally X. The ROG Ally X. It's already out there. You can just jump in there. There's not the Steam tax to use something else. And so I think the answer is just they will try and push Game Pass more, I guess, and get you into that ecosystem.
Too.
And so if they can just
increasingly make a worse deal every
month.
Right.
But if they can lure into that system somehow of like, hey, don't you want to play your Steam games on your PC or on your TV? And is the Steam hardware not out yet? Who knows? How about you get this Xbox instead? And then they push Game Pass down your throat, I guess.
If it's more meant for people that are like, they want console and the PC is like a bonus rather than trying to like court PC players, because like to your point, you are like right, Jacob. Like if you're into PC, why wouldn't you just want your game on Steam? There's way more flexibility than if you get like the Xbox version of the same game. But maybe they're trying to operate on the assumption that they're like getting people that already like would want an Xbox and like they happen to, fun fact, there's Steam rather than the inverse. But like the question is, does this user exist? I'm not really sure they do.
Yeah, I don't know.
This feels as good a place as any to make this announcement. Because everything's so crazy in the world right now, there's so much going on, I'm not going to be thinking about Xbox anymore. I got to start making cuts, and it's just not adding to my life. So I won't be considering things like this going forward.
All right, right on. Eric, do you have any thoughts on this?
I think if the hardware is good, I think it would be fine. I'm looking forward to. I mean, I technically work for Valve, but I am looking forward to the Steam machine. So I guess it would be a competitor to that.
Right.
Because I have a Steam Deck, and I don't have a use for a portable, but we hook it up to the TV, and it's just tremendous. So if it does that, and it's cheap, and it's easy to use Steam, I mean, I guess it sounds good, but I don't know what's in it for Microsoft necessarily.
Yeah, who knows? Pork Bun Powered says, "Hey, MinnMax and Eric, I'm a big fan. Having just finished listening to the Resident Evil Deepest Dive, great discussion, by the way, they say, made me think a lot about the relationship between franchises and storytelling. My question for Eric is, when writing a story for a long-running franchise, how much do you consider the fans or the canon? When you write something that you suspect is divisive, how do you balance your creative impulses with the quote-unquote business needs of what you're writing for?"
I mean, first thing I'm going to say is I love pork buns. I love them. When I was working at Double Fine, every morning, I didn't have a car. I'd walk through Chinatown because we lived in Little Italy, and stop. That was the first place it was open in Chinatown, was the pork bun places, and I would get 2 pork buns every morning for dinner, for breakfast. So love pork buns. The other question, not as interesting as pork buns. This is probably not a good plan, but my success has mostly come through writing to entertain myself or Jay. So I try not to worry about, I mean, you don't want to be hostile to your audience. You have to kind of enjoy the IP you're writing for, but I try not to worry about it too much. Like, I feel like if you pander to that sort of thing or focus too much on it, especially if it doesn't fully Venn diagram intersect with what you think is good and interesting, it's gonna be bad. It's gonna be a bad result. So I guess the answer is, don't take it the wrong way, not as much as you might think or hope.
Yeah, I wonder if you had that even for like something like Aperture Desk Job. Of like, I bet a lot of people working on like that smaller project were like huge Portal fans. They're like, I can't touch that universe. Like, did you find anybody being too uptight and you had to like loosen them up and just be like, it's silly to begin with, it can be silly now?
Yeah, not a super amount. I mean, the way I presented it to them, and I think I've said it publicly, is the little side things aren't necessarily canon. They're sort of like the Marvel what ifs. Like,
interesting.
What if this happened? But thinking about canon, it all breaks my brain a little bit. At the end of the day, I just want you to have fun and enjoy your time here. And because I'm all for tattoos. What I'm not all for is you spending the rest of your life thinking about the politics of the Half-Life world. Like, there must be better things to focus on. Just do something else. It was not built to sustain a lifetime of research. It truly was not. Enjoy it. Get the tattoo. Move on to the next.
Move on with your life. Jack Siege writes in, they say, ahoy, hoy, everybody. Speaking of apertures, they say, what is the most iconic door in all of gaming? Is it a vault door, 1,000-year door from Paper Mario, whatever that big door in Kingdom Hearts is called? Jack.
That's literally what I was Googling Kingdom Hearts door.
Kingdom Hearts door.
Warland door from Alan Wake 2.
Oh God, that took me a while. Like,
Yeah,
what was
Mr.
that?
Door.
The
Mr.
door that's
Door.
the boss in Slay the Spire 2, but the art's not done yet for him.
Oh
He's
yeah,
kind of
that
iconic.
will be the
Couldn't
most
it
iconic door eventually.
Honestly,
What about Resident
I
Evil
remember
1?
fighting
That door,
them.
You had to transition every
Yeah,
room in.
I think in terms of like thinking about doors, yeah, totally early Resident Evil of like you just have full frame door going slowly opening. That's a biggie.
Yeah, that was a spotlight on a door in that game.
I'll be the one to say it, so Eric can be embarrassed. The big door in the old Aperture Laboratories that opens up, and then there's just a tiny door behind it. Maybe my favorite sight gag in that game.
Oh, I'm glad that you like that because, you plan, like the things people latch onto are the things you had no clue. You're like, well, this is fine, but and then but the door, I was like, this is going to be the greatest door in gaming history, and then nobody cares. Yeah. You did. Thank you, Jim.
I like this idea of you seeing this question and you just sitting back and like, God, I hope somebody mentions that portal door, please.
I'm not going to talk about it because one of the greatest failures of my life was what I thought was going to be the best door of all time, and then nobody even ever mentioned it until literally just now, Jacob.
I feel like I've heard on the Resident Evil Deepest Dive, there's a big door at the bottom of something, and we all said it's like the portal door. I think it has more cultural relevance than you think.
All right. I was, very invested in how big that door was going to be and then how little the door was going to be behind it.
Smart. Smart. It's a good time.
I'd like to see what DLSS did with that. The little door would probably be 3 times as big when it opened.
2 normal-sized doors.
We found the perfect
Right. They just average out the sizes of the 2 doors.
All right, what do y'all like for question of the week? We got options. They're all good this week. Gaming tattoos. Certainly kept going back to that one. Minnesota highlights. Revolutionary tech, which I guess was all of the DLSS talk. Sneaky good writing. Eric, you're a guest of honor. Do you have a favorite question this week?
I mean, the one I enjoyed answering the most was the one about Minnesota, but I don't know if that is how you pick these things.
Whatever the metric we use, whatever made the show better. Which question made the show better?
I also don't know. I don't know that either. It made my experience of doing the show better to answer a question about
finding out the pitch of Valve moving to Duluth. I think that's pretty damn good.
You tapped into that energy so easily. That's so unresolved for you, and I really enjoyed hearing about it.
All right, William Hiddle.
Here's a thing that I talked about. I mean, I knew they weren't going to do it, even though there was a part of my brain that thought maybe they would. I talked about it a lot.
I love that.
William Hiddle, congratulations. You won the League of Legends vinyl soundtrack thanks to I Am 8-Bit. The other thing, Eric, is the idea of you like getting the job at Valve while you're living right next to Como Park and probably going to Como Zoo all the time. I just love that specificity of you being like right next to Como Zoo when you found out you're going to go right Portal. That is just good Minnesota lore.
Yeah, it's a Como Lake. It was a great place to live there. Walk around Como Lake. I think I told you I was in the line at the GameStop in Roseville.
Yeah.
Roseville, and I don't even know if it's still there, but I was in line right behind Andy McNamara, who was the old editor of Game Informer, and I recognized him, and I was like, he knew who my name was because of Old Man Murray, and I was like, I'm this guy, and I just was working at Double Fine, and now I'm debating whether to take a job at Valve. But I don't think he believed that I was, I didn't show him my ID. I think he just thought I was a random person talking to him. And I don't think I ever talked to him again after that. We just happened to be in line waiting for our Vitas.
Was he encouraging you to go to Valve, or was he like, okay there, buddy, all right?
Yeah, I think he was just humoring me for the most part. He was saying whatever he could say to get through the line without me stabbing him or something.
I love the lore of you just been insulted quietly by all these game industry luminaries throughout your life.
Yeah. He was not insulting.
No, he's very sweet.
Eugene Jarvis was genuinely.
Okay. He's designed to tech. All right, now it's time for a segment that we call Get a Load of This. Hey, everybody, get a load of this. Here's a little tidbit. Jeff Kaplan from Overwatch fame, Blizzard fame, he just did this marathon interview on Lex Friedman's podcast. I understand Lex Friedman's specific flavor, specific taste, but it's like a really, really good, insightful interview on Jeff Kaplan's entire history, and a lot of good Blizzard lore in there, including, he just mentioned, kind of the origins of Overwatch, a bunch of other games that they were prototyping. But he talks about how they spent 2 weeks, and he was on the team that was working on the StarCraft MMO. That was called StarCraft Frontiers, I think. And the idea was like, oh, it's not going to be about big battles. You're kind of like a scavenger on the side and kind of more Western vibe with the Terran. And he said that there was an awesome piece of concept art for StarCraft Frontiers where it's kind of a Western-looking frontiersy guy. And then that project didn't move ahead. But then when Overwatch moved ahead, that was McCree from Overwatch. They actually took that art and carried it forward, and it lived on as McCree, or whatever McCree's called now. I forget what
Cassidy now.
Thank you, Cassidy. So cool bit of StarCraft history through Overwatch there.
Nice. Get a load of this. It is the 100-year anniversary of the downtown Central Library in LA. And they're doing a bunch of like different event stuff for it. And one thing that they're doing is like providing these like stamps, like it's almost like a stamp collection thing of all the different like LA like branches with like the stamp depicts just like what the library looks like with like the name of it underneath. So I just thought that was cool and a fun thing to like collect if you happen to be in LA.
Hell yeah. Links below for all this fun stuff.
Get a load of this. My friend Manson got a tattoo of Calvin peeing on his Paramount Plus tattoo. I think the least he deserves is that image being shared.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you for this.
Yeah, that is the best one.
Get a load of this. Oscars were last week. A lot of good movies. I watched The Secret Agent, which is the Brazilian movie that was nominated for Best Picture. It's just on Hulu now. That movie rocks. Watch The Secret Agent.
Yeah, can I interrupt you just to say it is phenomenal. It is phenomenal. It pulls a structural trick that I did not see coming that is phenomenal. It is so good. It's such a good movie.
That's funny to like have the most generic name possible because everyone's like, all right, got it, moving on. But then if it's like that much creativity packed in a generic name.
Yeah, people talk about, everybody's all the bullshit world building. I made, Lord of the Rings or whatever. But this is the best kind of thing because you can't compete with the actual world. And it's a movie about a place and a period in time that I had no idea about, but it is so fully realized and presented and so fascinating. And also, it's just a violent, funny, lurid, heartbreaking movie. It's so good.
Yeah, it's kind of Ben. I think if you watch it, you might have a reaction of like you kind of don't even realize it doesn't tell you what the movie is about for like a long time. Okay. But at the same time, it's just Brazil in the 70s and you're just kind of hanging out in these spaces. And so it's like, even if you kind of don't understand like why characters are doing things for a while, you're like, I'm just happy to chill here. Like the guy is super hot. All the surrounding characters are really interesting and specific. And then eventually you find out what the story is and it's great.
Yeah, it is a phenomenal hangout movie that, then just shove some daggers right in your heart. So mine's on a similar. What am I supposed to say? There's a thing I'm supposed to say first. What I can't forget what it was. Already.
Sing the song, do the dance, and say, "Get a load of this, please." Yeah.
All right. My thing is about my current movie obsession that I just saw last week, which is Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie.
Yeah, you came to the right place. Yeah.
It is maybe the greatest movie I've ever seen. I mean, I'm still like in the honeymoon period with it. I love it so much. And so two things. One, the show has been in some sort of legal limbo, but just unlocked like 3 days ago. So you can buy it on Amazon, like the whole first season for $11 or something.
Missed that.
Anyway, so there's that. Second thing is I was listening. So I loved Blackberry, the movie Matt Johnson made a couple of years ago. It was my favorite movie of that year. But I was listening to an interview with Matt Johnson, and it turns out Hasbro has hired him to make the Magic the Gathering movie. Yeah. And I was like, I guess that's what you do when you want to make some money. But no, he is a huge Magic fan. He wanted to be a pro Magic player and was in some sort of qualifying tournament and washed out so bad that he was like, I guess I'll just go with my backup of being a movie maker. Yeah. And now he is getting to make the Magic. So tremendous stuff.
And so it's very cagey what he said about that. But like in theory, what it's just going to be about the competitive scene, right? And just like somebody trying to be the world's greatest Magic player.
Yeah, but in the interview, it kind of made it. It was unclear. That seems like more in his wheelhouse than making an epic fantasy movie, and also seems way more interesting. So my guess is it's got to be that, but I don't know for sure. Either way, I'm there. I'm fully there for it. Yeah. I cannot wait.
It's the best.
Yeah. Huge fans here. We did a spoiler chat about it a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. Janet, what is it like being surrounded by people who won't stop talking about Nirvana on the show?
It's really interesting, and I can't wait to eventually watch this and either be like, wow, this is really awesome, or I hate this.
Yep.
Like,
It'll
it's going to be one or the other.
Yep.
I don't know what it's going to be, but I look forward to it.
For you now.
Yeah.
If it's not too late, I would avoid learning literally anything about it before.
It's never too late. Everything I know about this movie is against my will.
There we go.
No, I don't know anything about it, so we'll see when it hits streaming, because I don't feel like paying to go see it in a theater, if I'm being honest.
I get it.
It's probably out of the theater now. I bet.
It was hanging
I
out
think
for a lot
it's
longer.
just hanging in there.
Yeah, I think it's like picking up
almost
steam
gone.
in a weird way. But hey, get a lot of this from the channel in the Discord where the community shares fun factoids, tidbits all day. Sky Fellowship shared a link from a YouTube channel called Quiet Nerd, which is just called Gaming in the Forest Resident Evil Requiem. And this guy's YouTube channel is awesome, where he's played like Resident Evil 4 remake in the forest. He just like makes a little dome and then just sits up there and plays horror games in the middle of the woods. But also his channel is awesome because he's like, his most popular video is called Building a Camper You Can Drive Around. And he's just making like these elaborate camping machines and then driving around, or like boats on the water and stuff. So link below if you want to check that out. All right, that is it. Erik Wolpaw, thank you for being here, sir.
Thanks for having me. It was fun. It's been like more than 3 hours.
It's been a long time.
Long ass. It passed by fast. It was fun. Yeah. I don't like AI at all. Just so in case there's going to be some kind of story, I'm against it. Totally against
It's too late. People are already in the CMS.
I hate it so much. Anyway, just open your minds, open your hearts to AI a little bit.
Business people, don't open your minds, but creatives in the
Right.
right way open your hearts. That's your message?
No, it's a new creative tool. See, test it a little bit before you're fully. Maybe it'll be as bad as you think.
Okay.
And only in this one tiny corner of the world do I think there might be an application for it.
Okay.
Thanks for your candor on it. It's such a touchy subject, but I think it was a good well-rounded conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Instead of just imagining what developers might see as the potential for the tech, for sure. Well, hey, that is it for this episode of the MinnMax Show. Thanks so much, everybody, for watching, listening, sharing, all that fun stuff. Trivia Tower, by the way, is back. March 31st, we have a new episode of Trivia. You'll never believe it. Also, thanks to the fine folks from Pocahontas County, Iowa. They're sponsoring the new episode of Trivia Tower. So if you like kaleidoscopes,
yeah.
you can win a kaleidoscope by competing in game trivia. Support MinnMax on Patreon at even the $2 tier, and you can compete in game trivia to win a ton of game codes and a whole lot more. Otherwise, New Show Plus was fun this week. GDC bonus pod replacement this week was Janet and Jacob, for an hour and a half talking about highlights of the show and all that fun stuff. And it's when you put stuff behind the paywall, it's tough to get feedback. So it's nice to see that there's like a wave of people being like, you just dropped this behind the paywall? This is like one of the best podcasts I've heard in a long time. So it's a very good chat between you two. So shout out to you all podcasting from the show floor at GDC.
Yeah, thanks to people that listened.
You betcha. The travelog's coming soon. But all right, that is it. Erik Wolpaw, you're back. Welcome back whenever you want. Or if you ever want to swing by Minnesota, we'd love to buy you a drink or something, man.
You guys, you're about to click off. You're in the cities, right? You guys are in the
Some of
cities?
us are. Yeah, like 5 of the 9 of us from MinnMax are in Minneapolis, yeah.
Okay, so nobody's in Duluth or anything.
We could be. Hey, if you're up there, we
Meet
can
up.
make the trip.
I mean, it would also be cheaper for you guys to live in Duluth.
That's a good point. All right, let's move the entire operation.
Yeah, Ben, why don't you live somewhere cheaper than where you currently live? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Oh, Janet, I want to move back to central Minnesota, but, I'd have to move everybody else from MinnMax. It's a whole elaborate thing. All right, thanks so much,
What,
everybody.
it's more than just what it costs? It's crazy. Okay, anyway, you can go.
See you next time. Be good, have fun. Let's go.